Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you. Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show. And for the fifth time, yes, ladies and gents, tonight it is the Actors Spotlight Special. This is a long time coming. I did a poll just over 2 months ago between three actors, of course, Jimmy Stewart, Michael Keaton, and the winner, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour, won Sylvester Stallone. Yes, Sly Stallone came out the winner on that. And tonight we dive into my top 10 film performances of Sylvester Stallone. Now, I'm a big Stallone fan, always have been, always will be. Die hard ever since the first time when I was a kid. I remember renting this movie from Hollywood Video, Rocky, the original Rocky. One of my all-time favorite movies, definitely in my top 20 movies of all time. I love Sylvester Stallone in this movie. Spoiler alert, this is in the top 10. Don't worry about that. But I'm a huge fan of Sly Stallone, and this was really the movie that, brought me into being a fan. And then, of course, I discovered these movies, the Rambo movies, which I have this awesome Blu-ray trilogy set here. I always was a huge fan of this. I think Lionsgate put these out with these kind of cool, like rainbow-ish colors. If you move the cover around, it kind of had that rainbow fright, if you will. Very cool. Of course, First Blood, and then probably my favorite of the Rambo movies would be First Blood Part 2. I always thought this was fucking amazing. Like one of the greatest action movies of all time, arguably the best Stallone action movie from top to bottom. And then, of course, Rambo Part 3, which I know a lot of people hate, and I would say it's the weakest of the first four, at least. It's definitely better than Rambo Part 5, The Last Blood, which I wish it wasn't made. I hate that fucking movie. But Rambo's 1 through 4 I always really loved, and I remember actually renting First Blood from the library as a kid. I rented it from the library alongside Terminator, and I did a double feature with Stallone and Schwarzenegger, First Blood, and then the Terminator. And I fucking actually thought this movie was just as good, if not better, than Terminator. And I love Terminator, so that tells you how much I love Stallone and how much I love First Blood. That was like one of the other movies that really introduced me to him. And then, I did a bunch down the road. I was introduced to all these different Stallone films. And that's the thing with Stallone, man. Like, I think the interesting thing about him is his career is sort of like the Rocky character. He is the ultimate underdog. He's a guy that never probably should have made it. And then even after he did make it, I feel like a lot of the movies that are good that he's a part of and he is good in don't really necessarily get the love that they deserve. I'm referring to a Copland. I'm referring to a Cobra. I'm referring to an ICU. I mean, so many awesome Stallone movies and Stallone performances that I feel don't get the recognition or the attention like a Rambo or a Rocky do. And I think that's wrong. So that's why tonight I figured we count down my favorite Sylvester Stallone performances from 10 to 1 in that order. And I figured it'd be a great time. So hope all of you are excited. Hope all of you are ready. Miss Carter's here. Hey, yo, Grande, how you doing? That's my best Stallone impersonation. I thought it was quite good impersonation, Miss C. Hey, yo. AJ's Happy Fun Time channel's in the house. I can smell the machismo already. Oh, shit. Where's Razor Ramon at? Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande. Excited for top 10. Sly top 10, Copland, Rocky 76, and First Blood are my top 3. Special mentions for Cobra, my childhood, Tango and Cash, my adolescence, like also Demolition Man. Hi, everyone. Well, if you like those movies, I think you're going to be very fucking pleased with my list. I'm just going to say that much. Hey, AJ, ciao, Mateo. Hello, all. Mernsy is here. Well, go, Leafs, go. What's up, everybody? Mernsy, welcome, my friend. Welcome. Hope all is well with you. I know last night Mernsy threw on Copland just a pregame for Grande's Graveyard. So to that, we drink a nice little Coca-Cola. So everybody, cheers. I hope you have a wonderful, happy, safe, happy, healthy weekend. We're going to kick this off. We're going to take a nice sip. Cheers, everybody. Oh, only the best. I love me some Coca-Cola. Every now and again, it's very good. But let's kick off this list. Let's start at number 10 and count up to all the way up to number 1. Cheers to Copland. Hell yeah. Copland's at the top 10. I mean, it's a spoiler alert, if you will. And I'm nothing to spoil there because that's a great fucking movie. And, more people definitely deserve to see it and hear about it. And I hope that this show can do it a little bit of justice. But we're going to kick this show off with a movie that came out in the rightful year of 1975. This This is Death Race 2000 coming in at number 10. Yes, in a dystopian future, a cross-country automobile race requires contestants to run down innocent pedestrians to gain points that are tallied based on each kill's brutality. Yes, Death Race 2000. Now, I know a lot of people, and myself included, I always considered Sly the ultimate babyface. Like, always considered him the ultimate babyface, ultimate good guy, whether it be Rambo, whether it be Marion Cobretti, whether it be Rocky Balboa. I mean, so many great characters that Stallone played and brought to life. And when it came to playing good guys, playing heroes. Here, though, we turn to the other side of the coin and we see Sly play the lead villain in Machine Gun Joe Viterbo. And man, I think Stallone is the best thing in this movie. Now, I do love the movie itself. I mean, this is a Roger Corman joint from the mid-70s, and it has all of the blood and gore and violence and gratuity that you'd want from a movie like this. It's one of my favorite Roger Corman films and exploitation films from the mid-1970s. And to get a Sylvester Stallone to play the villain is something that you wouldn't have probably been able to do after Rocky. So this in turn comes out the year just before Rocky. I believe this was the last movie he did before playing Rocky Balboa, which is crazy. And man, I think he makes this movie as Machine Gun Joe, the villain. Of course, the movie revolves around this big death race where depending on who you kill and how you kill them, you get points and stuff like that. And it's just a very fun movie. David Carradine plays the Frankenstein driver, who's like the big front runner, and Joe Viterbo has had it up to here with him. And they want Frankenstein? I'll give him Frankenstein. And he starts shooting the machine gun into the crowd. And I mean, Stallone is just so much fun in this. Some of the one-liners they give Stallone, it's fun to see him, instead of doing the babyface one-liners, if you handed Sly Stallone the heel one-liners. Of course, the woman Myra, this beautiful woman that's riding with him, and Myra, some people might think you're cute, but me, I think you're a very large baked potato. Like, just like what? Like, where did that come from? But only Sly could make that work. And even the how does it feel to know you're going to spend the rest of your life in pain? The rest of your life is a minute and a half. I mean, just he's great in this. I mean, he brought a great energy, great intensity to this villainous role, and a great fun. Like that. This is the type of black humor that I like. I would even say Trauma around this time had that similar like dark black humor in their films, whether it be like something like a Blood-Sucking Freaks. But as those type of movies went on, the comedy got dumber and dumber. Whereas here, I think this is like one of Roger Corman's best. And you have like all of this classic 80s gore. Like I always consider it's like the bright red, vibrant gore like you would see in Dawn of the Dead and things like that. Just this vibrant red gore that you can almost taste coming off the screen. I mean, that's how the blood is in this movie. And AJ was telling me the other night, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. It's like if Clockwork Orange and Willy Wonka and I think he said if it's a Clockwork Orange, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and fucking one other movie had a baby. I was like, dude, you're so right. Like that's like the absolute perfect way to put it. And it makes sense because of course Clockwork Orange and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory are my top 10 movies ever. So it makes fucking sense. But I don't know. I think that it was really fun to see Sly play an against type character, even though he had not hit it big yet, even though he really wasn't that household name yet. I mean, of course, this is around the time he was doing movies like Lords of Flatbush. And before this, he had done a movie called Rebel in 1970, which I think is horrible. It's a really, really dull coming of age drama film, which I never quite cared for. He also, people remember, did The Italian Stallion, which is a porn that Sylvester Stallone did. And you can watch the fucking film. It is readily available for some reason. Sly Stallone porn is out there for anybody who wants to see it. I'm not one of those people, but it is out there. Of course, this was one of the movies that kind of launch padded him into the role of Rocky. And then Rocky, of course, took off his career. But this was really, to me, an interesting, point in his career and something I wish he would have done more. Like maybe in another film. I know Spy Kids 3, I'm sure someone will mention, he played the villain in Spy Kids 3, the toy maker. Yeah, that's not a great Sly Stallone performance. That's nothing on Joe Viterbo, Machine Gun Joe Viterbo in this movie right here. I love him in Death Race 2000, one of my favorite Sly roles, and one that I definitely had to have on here. That's Death Race 2000. There was Slasher Fred is here. Welcome, Slasher Fred. There was a movie that Stallone was in called The Lords of Flatbush, where he played a gang member. Yes, alongside, of course, Henry Winkler, and that movie's okay. I've never been a big fan of that movie. You won't be finding that on this list. I think the movie's okay. Sly's okay in it. It's one of those movies just very average for me. Death Race could use more Sly though. Oh, sure, definitely. Hey, I think it's one of those movies that's really short. it's like, I don't even think it's 80 minutes long. It's one of the shorter movies out there because it just really, it's one of those movies, it cuts all the fat out. There's no fat in Death Race 2000. I mean, the race starts 5 minutes into the movie and then it plays out to the end. And they only take breaks to have like these fancy dinners where they curse each other out or fight each other or try to strangle each other or seduce each other. I mean, there's plenty of yits, gore, violence, gratuity, cursing, all of the stuff that you would go on to love in exploitation cinema is here in Death Race 2000. I think it's one of the better exploitation movies out there. Fever Dreamland Theater, Anthony's in the house. What's up, Grande? Hey, everyone. I'm a big Stallone fan. Happy to hear your thoughts, man. Dude, thank you so much, man. I'm happy to have you here. Cannonball Run. That's right. That's right. You said Cannonball Run. Greetings, brother. Honky Digital is here. Welcome, my friend. Hey, Fever. Death Race 2000 is a funny movie, so 70s. It is. This is like a state, and that's the thing you'll find. Like I have this Stallone collection here. Sly Stallone is like, when I think Sly Stallone, I think Cobra, I think Rocky IV, I think like he's the 1980s personified. But Death Race 2000, that's a great point from Mateo. It is so 1970s. Like, it defines the 1970s distinctly. I mean, it really is one of those type of films. There was a remake of Death Race 2000. Yes, the Jason Statham remake. They did prequels to that. Then they did a sequel to this, Death Race 2050, in like 2017, so not too long ago, but I had not seen that. I love Lords of Flatbush. Okay, we got a Lords of Flatbush fan. Italian Goodfellas is here. Woo! Hell yeah. Rambo movies. Yeah, I got the trilogy right here on Blu-ray high def. Gotta love some Rambo movies. Rambo will make the list. I promise that. But Death Race 2000, to me, awesome role for Sly. Loved seeing him play the villain for a change, and something I wish he could have done a little bit more. I definitely wish he could have done villainous roles a little bit more. Like, I think it would have been something that would have been interesting for his career to delve more into that. But with that being said, we're going to move on to number 9. Yes, coming in at number 9, this is where the law stops and I start. You're the disease and I'm the cure. This is Sylvester Stallone in Cobra. Yes, Cobra from 1986. I have it here, of course, like I was just showing, a part of the Sly Stallone collection, 5 Sly Stallone classics and absolutely zero regrets. A tough on-crime street cop must protect the only surviving witness to a strange murderous cult with far-reaching plans. Yes, Cobra. Aside from being one of my favorite Sly Stallone performances, is also one of my favorite Sly Stallone movies. It probably would be higher than number 9 if I was just going by movies as opposed to performances. But man, I love this movie. And to me, this is like one of the better characters that is not a Rambo, that is not a Rocky, that is a babyface in Sly Stallone's career, is Marion Cobretti. I mean, I love the idea of this character. I love how the movie opens up, and the director, George P. Cosmatos, he uses the color red. I mean, that blood red in the sky, just amazing way to open your film. And the way he uses all these colors, whether it be purples or blues, he uses a lot of primary colors in this movie. And Stallone, I think what makes this performance and role so special for me is that he dialed it down. Where in movies like, in movies like Copland, he dials it down. He dials it down here as well. But there's also movies where he dials it way the fuck up. Like Tango and Cash, he's dialed way the fuck up. Demolition Man, he's dialed way the fuck up. Even Over the Top, he's literally very over the top in it. Here, he really dials himself down. You always hear these guys, dial yourself up to 11. Here, Marion Cobretti dials himself down to about 5. And it's more of a badass, slick character where he has, again, these amazing one-liners and this really cool look with the sunglasses and the toothpick. And even I know Ryan Gosling for the movie Drive, he ripped that off. He said, I was such a big fan of Cobra that I ripped that off. I used the toothpick. I wanted to use that. Nicholas Winding Refn, who directs that film, also was a huge fan of Cobra, and he wanted to use all the color palette that this movie uses in turn. And man, I really love Sly in this movie. Of course, it always opens with this, grocery store heist where this guy is holding people at gunpoint, and Sly has these great one-liners. I'm going to blow this place up. Go ahead. I don't shop here anyway. It's just amazing fucking dialogue from Sly. I love some of the one-liners in this, and this is where the law stops and I start. You're the disease. I'm the cure. It's just great one-liners from Sly in this movie. And I like that he kind of dials it back a little bit in this movie. Like, you have the fun-loving Sly in movies that would follow this, like I said, like a Tango and Cash, movies like that. But this is Sly much dialed down. And the movie itself is very different for a Stallone. Like, it's has thrilling elements. It has slasher movie elements. It has horror elements to it. Of course, this tells the story of Marion Cobretti, who's the best cop on the force. But of course, Andrew Robinson and company, they're kind of iffy with him, especially Andrew Robinson. Art LaFleur sort of likes him. He plays like the police chief. And of course, there's this serial cult killing going on. And it's not just one killer, it's a group following this one leader, this whole cult member thing. And they're killing innocent people left and right. And of course, their target is Brigitte Nielsen, who Stallone went on to marry in real life. She's, of course, in Rocky IV. She's Red Sonja. Of course, she was a real fucking hoe. If you know the story of Brigitte Nielsen, I mean, she was with Sly, she was with Schwarzenegger, she was with fucking Mark Gastineau. By the end, she was with Flavor Flav. She was with fucking everybody. That bitch was around the block, back again, fucking stopped at Carvel, got a fucking fat fucking shake, and then she fucking passed around the corner 3 more times. I mean, Brigitte Nielsen was a fucking hoe for show. And I don't know, man, I never really thought she was much of an actress. I guess maybe she was just one of those like eye candy girls. I never really thought she was that great though. Like, I don't know. Like, I never always kind of on her as an actress. And in this, they do, I will say they have a nice chemistry in this. Marion Cobretti and, of course, Brigitte Nielsen's character, because they were married in real life around this time. And then by the time you get to Tango and Cash, he literally writes lines in there to bury her, to bash her, where he says, "I hate Danish," which is referring to Brigitte Nielsen. So that's only 3 years after this movie. You know, he's starring in a movie where he falls in love with her and all these things. And then by 3 years later, he's burying her in a movie in a throwaway line with Kurt Russell. I mean, very funny stuff. But I like the real grit that this movie has. And I got to say, I kind of wish this movie had a better Blu-ray. This is the Warner Brothers Blu-ray. It's all right, but man, this is a movie that needs a 4K, because talk about a movie with great use of color. It's Cobra. And man, again, like, I love the vibe of this movie. I just think it's so dark and atmospheric. And, you know, there's not a lot of Sly movies quite like Cobra. You know, it was a big hit at the time. I believe it was a $25 million budget, grossed $160 million worldwide. It was a big hit financially. Granted, critically, this was a bomb. A lot of people hated it, but I know a lot of people, that kids of the 80s, that always kind of mention they grew up with this one. And man, like, I think that's great. I saw this one much later in my Sly Stallone watching, you know, like when I got into his career. I definitely saw this one latter rather than earlier, but I always thought he was just great in this role. I thought he was just cool, and the gun and the car chase, and, you know, the toothpick, the look, and the idea of fuck it, I don't want to eat a slice of pizza like a fucking normal person. I'll cut it with a pair of scissors. Like, just weird stuff, but just to be different. And I don't need to throw the newspaper under the mat. I'll put it in the fucking barbecue skillet. Like, just fun, man. I just really love the unique ability of Sly and the filmmaker George P. Cosmatos in this movie. I just think they both did a really wonderful job at kind of making this movie feel a lot different than the Sly movies that had came before, and definitely a lot different than most of the Sly movies that came after. Mernsey says AJ really wants a 4K of Rhinestone. Well, I don't think anybody wants that. Spoiler alert, Rhinestone did not make the top 10. That would be in the bottom 5 for me. I'm hoping Get Carter is mentioned as one of my favorites. Okay, Get Carter remake. I read Cobra was sort of a version of Beverly Hills Cop. Yeah, no, the story behind it was he wanted to do Beverly Hills Cop sequel without Eddie Murphy. He was going to play the Beverly Hills Cop, or a different Beverly Hills Cop, I guess. And they felt it wasn't fun enough. It wasn't campy enough, you know, and especially because you would expect that from Sly. At least I would. I totally, after watching a Rocky IV and a Rambo First Blood Part 2, you definitely would expect a more campy movie with this, and it's not. It's definitely more gritty, it's definitely more realistic, and I think I personally appreciate that. But I can see why the studios were like, nah, and this was kind of his answer. This was his response, was Cobra. Another YouTube guy I follow makes this argument that Cobra is a slasher movie. I have a hard time seeing it myself, but yeah, I guess it sort of is. It definitely has vibes. Definitely has vibes. And some of the death scenes they feel straight out of a slasher movie. I totally get what he means. Or even like a Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. It kind of has vibes like that at points, you know. And I really like the guy who plays the lead heel in this. He does a great job. He would go on to be in movies like Fright Night Part 2. And even before this, you know, he did a bunch of movies. I quite like Cobra. That's a secret, Mernsey. Oh, are you a secret closet fan of Rhinestone? Of course, with Dolly Parton. That's Druckenstein. That's a horrible movie. I heard there was going to be a Cobra series, but that fell through. Stallone is doing Tulsa King now, though. Yes, that's right. And I know they initially wanted to do a Cobra 2 in 1987, and that fell through. And then he tried to bring it back in like 2019. That fell through. Then they wanted to do a series. Sly is one of those guys, he's really having a hard time letting go of his career. And man, I still love Sly, but like, let it go. I feel like, you've had enough hits at this point. The director, George P. Cosmatos, his son is Panos, who made Mandy. Always thought that was cool. Yeah, no, he wanted to hit Panos P. Cosmatos. He's done some great movies too. I mean, I really like him. Ed is here. Ed, welcome, my friend. Looks like you could take uh looks can take you a long way. No talent needed. Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Never got into Brigitte. Yeah, no, me neither, man. I always thought she was sort of overrated. I'm one of those kids who grew up with it. Awesome movie. Yeah, no, this was a big VHS movie, a big rental movie for people. And man, I could see why. I think it's just a very interesting, unique film for Sly and a different character. Like it's not your typical stereotypical, I'm a great cop and I'm doing the best I can on the force and all this stuff. No, he's a badass. He's a badass first, cop second, and he's beats to his own drum. And I don't know. I just always really appreciated this character, and I love, like I said, the one-liners that Stallone throws out. This is where the law stops and I start. I love that line. That's one of my favorite lines in a Sly movie, man. Cobra, long live Cobra. Huge fan. King Gore is in the house. Ayo, welcome, King Gore. He will be joining us next week, not on the Thursday night edition of the Graveyard, where we'll be doing the Amityville Horror retrospective from 1 to Part 9, aka the remake. Super looking forward to that. But next Saturday, May the 13th, I believe, he will be joining me alongside Psycho Babble for the 4th edition of the Horror Roundtable. And I've got the 5th Horror Roundtable in the works, so roundtables are coming fast and furiously. Need gore, hell yeah. And Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Sly Stallone is one of the celebrities on the Wall of Fame in Sal's Pizzeria. Well, you gotta love that. I love Do the Right Thing. That's a fucking great movie for sure. But coming up next is a movie that, dare I say, is one of Sly's more underrated movies, and a movie that for some reason does not get a lot of love. And I know what at the time of it coming out, it was a movie that was delayed for 3 years, sat on the shelves for 3 years. Studio did not want to release it. And while I do think the movie has problems, and it's not maybe, I don't know if it would make a top 10 Sly movie list, just films. But performances, I would say it's definitely in his top 10 performances, number 8 specifically. And this is 2002's film. This is ICU. Yes, ICU, aka Detox, from the year 2002. Brief plot synopsis. A lead detective being stalked by a serial killer is asked to check into a clinic treating law enforcement officials who can't face their jobs. Yes, ICU, aka Detox. So, in not too different of a way from Cobra, this is definitely, in my opinion, the closest to horror film Stallone got. I know a lot of people, they always mention the ISO Bar. That was the Sly Stallone film that did not happen in the mid-1990s. They wanted to do this film on a train where Sly Stallone was fighting a fucking plant monster and he was going to star. And that, I'm to this day sad that didn't happen. Like, I would have took that over a Daylight. I would have took that over an Oscar, a Stopper My Mom Will Shoot, definitely. And not that all those movies I mentioned are bad or anything, but I definitely would have taken Sly against the fucking plant creature over any of that other stuff that I just mentioned. But this movie right here features one of my favorite Sly performances, and he basically plays this cop who he loses basically his fiance or bride to be. Jake Malloy is the name of the cop, and the movie opens up where he is with Dina Meyer, who horror fans will remember. She's Carrie from Saws 1 through 3. She's the cop investigating Jigsaw, like the main cop lady. And she's a beautiful lady. Always really liked her. And it's really cool to see her in this. She and Sly had a wonderful chemistry together in the one scene they share. And of course, he's this kind of cop who's on the hunt for this serial killer who is leaving all these disturbing messages with people's eyes. He's kind of fucking with people's eyes and stuff like that. In a similar vein to a Seven, like the 7 deadly sins. This is all this stuff has to do with eyes. They write ICU in the pupils, or ICU in the eyelids, if you will. And I thought that was an interesting idea. Of course, Sly hears that his woman is being attacked, and he drives home. And there's a great scene where Sly finds his wife literally hanging dead in the living room. And all of these cops around him kind of look and make like clear a path, spreading the seas, if you will. And Sly, man, he just looks and breaks down. And it's a really emotional scene. One of my favorite scenes from Sly. I mean, you don't see him go there quite often, to see him losing the love of his life to, this crazy madman serial killer. And then from there on out, it kind of spirals him into a depression. He starts drinking. He starts cutting himself to try to relieve the pain. He falls into this, like, inexplicable depression, and it's really sad to see. And of course, there's a great scene in the bar where the police captain, plays by Charles S. Dutton, who's in fucking Rudy and Alien 3. I mean, I always loved Charles S. Dutton. I thought he's a great actor. He comes to see him and he's, hey, what's going on? Talk to me, Malloy. And he goes, you know what? You know what you need to do? He hands him a gun. He says, you need to just blow your head off and kill yourself and leave yourself with a little bit of fucking dignity, because drowning yourself in that bottle is what cowards do. And Sly literally takes the gun and just shoots it at the roof. And he's like, what the fuck? Like, they're sitting in a fucking public bar. He's like, what are you doing, man? Like, Jesus Christ, like, we've got to get you help. And what they do is they check him in to a sort of rehabilitation center for, ex-cops. And of course, there we meet all these colorful characters. Robert Patrick's in the film. Chris Christopherson's in the film. I think it has some really good actors in here, and it definitely has a nice, fun setup. Now, where the movie itself falls apart is its direction. It's directed by the fucking guy who did I Know What You Did Last Summer, which that's the problem with the movie, is the direction. I really think the direction is a big fucking swing and a miss for me. I did not care for this director at all. Jim Gillespie, who made, of course, I Know What You Did Last Summer and Venom, and this was the movie he made in between. That's where this movie sort of falls apart, is his direction, because he's not able to capture much of an atmosphere or horror aesthetic, even though you have all of the kind of boxes checked off, right? You have this kind of wintry, snowy atmosphere, a bunch of really good actors in a fucking detox clinic, and they're getting picked off one by one, and we have to kind of play 10 Little Indians. Who is the killer? Who is the killer amongst us? And there's a lot of heart in there, and there's a lot of really cool scenes with Stallone. There's a great scene where he has this dream sequence where he's remembering good times with his deceased wife, and it's a really, really sad scene where he has this and wakes up in a cold sweat, and he's just really, like, you see him hit a wall. This is a very big dramatic leap for Sly, and it's a shame because the studio, of course, this was supposed to be released in 1999, test screened horribly to the point where they started to do reshoots, and then to the point where they were afraid to release it, and they ended up dumping it direct to video 3 years after its supposed theatrical release, 899, just threw it direct to video in 2002. And I think that's a damn shame, because this is not a direct to video performance. It might be a direct to video movie in some aspects, and especially the mediocre direction. But I think Sly, man, he's just so fucking good in this. Like, it's so interesting to see him play a character that is just has lost all hope and all faith. This is the guy who played Rocky, who believed and taught us all to fly, and this is the guy that taught us all how to, be inspirational and be inspired and go out and get what we're worth and all these things. And to see him play this more down on his luck person who would rather be dead than be alive, I thought was a very interesting, way for Sly to go at this point in his career, especially towards the latter half of his career right here with Detox. And I mean, I think there's some great heartfelt moments. There's, when Sly finds out who the killer is. I won't ruin it, who the killer is. I will say this, don't watch the trailer, because the trailer will tell you who the killer is. Where he finds out who the killer is, it's an emotional fight between the two, and he pushes him down, and the killer says to him, he goes, "She called your name. She called your name when I was killing her." And Stallone picks him up like fucking Ultimate Warrior style and then press slams him, and "I see you." I mean, great, the title of the movie. And then there's a great heartfelt moment where Sly takes this ring that he was going to propose to his wife, his soon-to-be wife, with, and he kind of puts it on the tree outside of the facility, and he kind of just walks off into the snowy blizzard. To me, a really emotional performance, a more dramatic performance, and this type of horror film. I mean, most people probably say thriller, because it definitely is. It's trying to be a David Fincher movie. Like, if they actually had David Fincher direct this, it probably would have been a fucking huge movie. Or if you had even a Rennie Harlan, circle back to fucking Cliffhanger working with Stallone, or circle back working in horror with Elm Street 4. I think a Rennie Harlan would have done a really good job with this. I just think they picked the wrong director, and I think that's why it test screened bad. I think that's why nobody had interest in the movie. And I don't know, maybe at the time people were just sick of Stallone. I mean, this was around the time where he was going direct to video, and we'll get there when we get later on, when I discuss, some of the movies that he did post the direct-to-video stuff. But yeah, this was definitely one of those movies, alongside Shade, alongside Avenging Angela, alongside, ICU. These are movies that went direct-to-video, and Sly Stallone is one of the biggest stars of all time. That you hear that name, you don't think direct-to-video could be possible, but anything's possible. ATG Nat Podcast is here. Cobra. Hell yeah, man. Gotta love Marion Cobretti. Yes, sir. Hell yeah. Never heard of this. Never heard of it. All right. Never heard of it. I recommend. I think it's worth a watch. Me neither, AJ. Okay, so there you go. I've given diehard Sly fans a new one to watch. This movie also starred T-1000, Robert Patrick, who also co-stars with Sly in Copland, which is much higher on this list. Spoiler alert. Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Grande Thursday. Hell yeah. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. Welcome, my friend. Didn't know it had another title other than ICU. I believe it's only called ICU in the States. I think it's Detox everywhere else except the United States. And I don't know. I can't lie. I really like this cover a lot. Like I really, really like that, like the red, and I think that's a badass cover. I really like the Detox cover. I actually think Detox is a better title for this particular movie as well. I don't know. I really fucking like it, to be honest. I read that Sly Stallone was one of the celebrities who was considered for Arnold's role in The Terminator, which, as much as I love Sly, I think that role was definitely Arnold's. Like there's certain, you can always compare and contrast because those were the two biggest action stars of the 1980s. And what's funny is by the time they finally got them together, instead of doing an action movie, they do an escape prison film, which Stallone had already done in Lockup in 1989 with Donald Sutherland. But of course, that fucking nobody remembers that movie. Only John Steele is here. Welcome, my friend. I went to the same high school that Stallone went to, Northeast Philadelphia. No fucking way. That's awesome, man. Sean Blue Digital's the next heavyweight champion of the world. You heard it here first. That's so cool. Dude, that is cool. I believe, did anybody famous go to my high school? I don't think so. I don't think anybody famous went to my high school, but I don't know. I'd have to look. Dope Sean went to same school as Viola Davis. Dude, no way. Wow. You went to school with some cool fucking people. Yeah, Dan, I always found it a little weird. They didn't even have a portrait of Stallone in Lincoln High School, but it's whatever. That is bizarre. I would fucking think he'd have a Rocky statue outside and shit. Nice, John. What's up, bro? Hope all's well with you. Never heard of Detox either. Wow. All right. So I've thrown a Stallone movie out that people have not fucking heard of, man. I think you watch this movie for Sly Stallone's performance. The movie itself, like I said, it is poorly directed. It does miss on the potential that it could capture certain horrific elements and atmosphere. In the hands of a more capable filmmaker, this movie would have been fucking great. But unfortunately, they got Jim Gillespie. So I don't know. I really believe if David Fincher directed this movie, this would have been up for Academy Award. Like that's how fucking strongly I believe in that shit. But I mean, it is what it is. It's neither here nor there. But I'm a big fan of Detox, aka ICU, or ICU, aka Detox, whatever you want to call it. But this next movie on the list, is another one I find super underrated. And to me, this comes out at a very interesting time in his career, what I'd like to call a transitional time in his career, in between Rocky and First Blood. I feel like that was the biggest transitional period in his career. Of course, he had come out with Fist in 1978, where he plays Johnny Kovac. And I always felt Fist was too long. Like, it's just way too fucking long of a film. Of course, had Paradise Alley, which I don't care for, even though I'm a diehard, at least I used to be a diehard wrestling fan, maybe not so much anymore. Paradise Alley is a movie I always wanted to like more than I do. It's just okay to average. It's nothing great, nothing, to run home about. Of course, he did Victory, which a lot of people forget about, and rightfully, understandably so. But he did this movie here. And in my opinion, in between Rocky and, of course, First Blood, I think this is the best movie that he did in that transitional period. And this is the film from 1981, co-starring the legendary, the late, great Rutger Hauer. This is Nighthawks. Yes, Nighthawks from 1981. Awesome movie. When one of Europe's most lethal terrorists shows up in New York, an elite undercover cop is assigned to take him down by any means necessary. Yes, one man can bring the world to its knees, and only one man can stop him. Nighthawks, yes, with Sly Stallone. And like I said, this was an interesting period in the career of Sylvester Stallone because, like I said, it was a transitional period. Rocky comes out, he gets the Best Actor nomination at the Academy Awards. He does not win it. Of course, it posthumously goes to the actor who was in Network, whose name escapes me at the moment. It goes to him posthumously. I think any other situation where if all the actors had been alive, I think Sly would have won Best Actor at the 1976 Oscars, but it is what it is. Of course, like I said, he does the passion projects and Fist and Paradise Alley. Neither one of those were any good. Of course, he does Victory. He was in desperate need of a big hit at the time. And Nighthawks was one of those movies where I always kind of look at it. He was trying to be Al Pacino. Like, you even look at the look of Sly in this movie with the, mustache and the whole, deal. He looks like fucking Serpico. It looks like Al Pacino with Serpico. I believe somebody even mentions and jokes in this movie, hey, fucking Serpico. He looks like fucking Serpico in this. Like, there's no denying or hiding that at this period of his career, he was trying to be Al Pacino. He was trying to be De Niro. And I think this is a nice happy medium when it comes to trying to be those type of actors, even though I think at the same time, just from a personal standpoint with Sly, he's different, and there's more than one way to bake a cake. I think that's what I like to bring to the forefront here with Sylvester Stallone's career. He's not like a De Niro. He's not like a Pacino. He's not like a Brando. He's not like those guys. He's his own thing. Sly Stallone wrote a lot of the films he was a part of. He directed a lot of the films he was a part of. He loved to be involved with the creative. Those guys I just mentioned, not really. Not really at all. And those guys, even though here where he's sort of trying to imitate a little bit with the, the look and maybe some of the performance, and of course some of the performance that predated this, like I said, with Fist, especially Fist. That's the most De Niro / Pacino he ever tried to be, and it just didn't work because you're not being yourself. You've got to really be yourself. And I think this is the perfect happy medium with trying to be something different, but still bringing that same Stallone charm to the table. And who better to play the fucking heel than one Rutger Hauer, one of my all-time favorite actors. I love him in The Hitcher. Of course, he is the hobo with the shotgun. He is, of course, the amazing villain in this movie who I think he debatably steals the movie. Like, I think as great as Sly is in this movie, as of course Deke Da Silva, I think Rutger Hauer as Wolfgar is just as good, if not better, and kind of steals this film. I mean, he's so great. And the intensity and the chemistry between the two of them is wonderful. There's a scene, of course, where they're at a nightclub and Sly is looking around for him in the nightclub, and they have this epic stare down. One of my favorite stare downs in cinema history, as they stare each other down, and Wolfgar! He screams Wolfgar, and then, without missing a beat, Rutger Hauer starts shooting, and this poor innocent fucking guy gets shot in the back at this nightclub. Legend has it he's fucking still down on the ground somewhere. And of course, this chase ensues. And I don't know, I always really liked Nighthawks. Of course, Sly plays this kind of fun cop. Of course, his partner's Billy D. Williams in it, who of course would go on to be, or actually it was the year before this, he was Lando Calrissian, of course. And of course, he would go on to be Harvey Dent in the Batman films, at least the first two. I always really like Billy D. Williams, and I think they have a nice, fun, like kind of buddy relationship in this. But Sly in this movie, he has all these kind of interesting disguises where at the opening scene, he kind of is disguised as this little woman on the street, and this man tries to rob her, and he pulls a gun and chases the guy down. I love like all the disguises that Sly wears in this film. He's this undercover cop that can disguise himself, almost like a master of disguise, which I thought was a fun thing to kind of throw with his character. And of course, you have all the Stallone regulars in this. This was the last film he would work on with Joe Spinell before they had a falling out. I know Stallone said he had a very bad fight with Joe Spinell on the set of this film, and apparently they did not reconcile their differences before Joe Spinell's unfortunate passing in the mid 1980s, which is a damn shame because I always thought Joe Spinell was awesome, and I always loved him in Rocky. And of course, I don't know if anyone can find this picture, I would very much appreciate it. Sly Stallone went to the premiere of Maniac in a Maniac t-shirt. I've never seen that picture, but it exists somewhere. If somebody could find it, I would love to see that fucking picture. Just saying. Just so cool to see Sly wearing a fucking Maniac shirt. I don't know. For some reason, that'd be the coolest picture ever for me to see. But even so, like, I love the chemistry that Sly and Rutger Hauer have in this movie without even being on camera that much together. It's very similar to a Michael Mann's Heat, where we don't see De Niro and Pacino on screen throughout the entire movie, but they still have that chemistry. That's hard to do, but they are able to do that here as the clear-cut babyface, clear-cut heel. And man, I don't know, I really always loved Sly's performance in this as well. I thought this was a really cool, interesting role for him. Love Nighthawks, that gun at the end, dude. Of course, gotta love the blonde wig and all this. And I know that the MPAA or whoever the fuck the studio maybe cut the shit out of that, because he only gets shot like 2 or 3 times in the theatrical cut. But if you see, once they fucking are filming the outside, he has like 6 to 7 bullet holes in him. I'm like, God damn it, you cut 5 shots out of this shit. And this is the same year as Halloween 2, where I shot him 6 times. This guy, he's not human. They didn't cut that out. Like, why the hell did you cut Nighthawks' balls off, man? Great cast. I love the partner. So do I. I thought they had nice chemistry. I actually would have liked to see them work together down the line again, man. Just like, you look at Stallone, he worked with so many great actors. I mean, he worked with Burt Young. He works with fucking De Niro. He worked with Robert Patrick. He worked with Ray Liotta. He worked with fucking Kurt Russell. I mean, so many great dance partners that work with Sly. But I think Billy D. Williams really doesn't get his due or mention, and I think he was great. I thought they had wonderful chemistry together. Hell, I would have liked to have seen a Nighthawks 2 with them, just running around and shenanigans and stuff like that. Jamie Hart is here. I love Nighthawks. Who doesn't? Jamie Hart, welcome to the graveyard. Rocky and Lando on May the 4th. Nice. You got to love that. May the 4th be with you, Mr. Zitro. If you ever see that film, Last Action Hero, there's a scene when the young male protagonist is literally, and there is a cardboard cut out of Stallone in a VHS. Okay, yeah, no, you gotta love the jabs of Stallone and Schwarzenegger. Gotta check this one out. Think Shout Factory put it on Blue. Oh, I hope it's still in print, because I really enjoy this movie. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but I'm a big fan. I always really liked it. My uncle looked like Serpico during this era. Did he really? No, that look, like, even when I first watched this movie, I'm like, is he fucking trying to be Al Pacino? Like, it's just, and he doesn't look bad on Sly. I would say he doesn't. He fits the look fine. It's just, it's like you watch it, you're like, fuck, like, what the fuck is he trying to do here? And it's very blatant to me. I like Victory a lot, but I'm a soccer fan, so almost doesn't count. Pele is in there too. Yes, and fucking, I believe Michael Caine is in there, which is bizarre that your 3 leads are Pele, Stallone, and Michael Caine. Just an odd trio there. Uncle Serpico. You gotta love Uncle Serpico. Lords of Flatbush, Brooklyn, stand up. Hell yeah, man. Gotta represent. Blade Runner. Dude, I love Blade Runner. Don't watch Terror in the Isles if you haven't seen Nighthawks. They give away the end. Do they really? I didn't realize that. I've seen Terror in the Isles. I don't remember them fucking talking about Nighthawks. That sucks, though. That sucks they give it away. People saying hi to each other. That Wolfgar in due time. Yes, no, like Rutger Hauer is. If I did a top 10 Rutger Hauer list, this would definitely be up there, because he's great. And I know this was the film that made him a big star in America. Like, this was a movie that I know Rutger Hauer, unfortunately, during the filming of this, he lost his mother and his best friend within like a week of each other. So they had to shut down production twice on this movie for him to go and bury his mom and his I forget where he's from. Is it the Netherlands? He had to fly back to his home country twice just to bury his mom and his best friend, which is so sad. And then he'd come back and play this amazing heel. And it didn't look like it fazed him one bit. I mean, if anything, he channeled that sadness and kind of turned it into rage. And that's the performance you get here from Rutger Hauer. It's tremendous stuff. I've actually never seen Nighthawks before, but I'm definitely going to be fixing to see that soon. Highly recommend. Joe Spinell going to go full maniac on Stallone's ass. Yes, or last horror film, or Mr. Robbie. Mr. Robbie would have been a fucking amazing movie, I feel like the 7 minutes of that exists are amazing. Like, I really wish that would have happened. Of course, people don't know what I'm talking about. Joe Spinell, of course, who plays the Maniac, he was supposed to do a movie called Mr. Robbie, aka Maniac 2, where he plays this kind of children's show host called Mr. Robbie, and he has this kind of doll with him, and he just fucking one day just snaps. Similar vein to something like The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. It looked like a character study type film, or Funland with fucking, oh my God, what's his fucking name? I can't think of his name. Somebody give me the guy's name from Funland. I'm sorry. I'm usually great with names, but that one has just slipped my mind. Hey, Miss Carter, count the shots in Halloween. I've always thought it was 7 or 8. And then the second one, it's 7. They goofed. They added an extra gunshot for some reason. Dr. Loomis shot him with an AR-15. Yeah, they didn't cut that shit out. Hey, John Steele. Hello, the lovely Miss Carter. Can you imagine a young Sly playing Scott Hall in a biopic? Hey, yo, Adrian. Hey, yo, Adrian. How you doing? We're going to main event WrestleMania. Jonathan Schwartz is in the house. Welcome, good brother Jonathan. Hope all's well with you. Someone now needs to make Mr. Robbie. Dude, I mean, you look at the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, that's as close to that as you're ever going to get. And he won fucking Oscar for it. Joe Spinell is underrated, man. Like, Joe Spinell never gets the fucking credit he deserves. And it's a shame. I know Sly actually in an interview said that this was the point of his career where he was the biggest douchebag in real life. Like, he said that he was not easy to work with. He was a dick to Joe Spinell. He regretted it. He said he was not very nice with Rutger Hauer. I don't believe Rutger Hauer has the nicest things to say about Sly. before his passing. Rucker Howard did not have many nice things to say about Sly. I've never heard Billy D's take on Sly, but it's a shame because Sly said all these years later in an interview talking about this movie, he said, if there was one version of me I could go back in time and punch in the fucking face, it would be me in Nighthawks. He said, because I was a dick at that time, because his career was in a limbo. His career was in a transition. He wasn't, he was just, oh, that's the guy from Rocky, but he tried all these movies that fail, like Paradise Alley and Fist and Victory. And, he just was really in that transition until First Blood came along that really kind of jump started the second kind of chapter in his career, where he wasn't just known as one thing. Now he was known as at least two, if not more. Funland is the late great David Landers. That's right. Thank you. I'm sorry. His name fucking slipped my mind. Love David Landers. A lot of kids my age will remember him from doing a lot of animated stuff. Like he was a ton of roles and voices on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. I mean, I really love David Landers, man. He was great. Squiggly from Laverne and Shirley. That's right. JP is in the house. King Jonathan. Hell yeah. Clutch Kingsley was truly one of the worst. Yeah, no, I would actually definitely agree with that. But Nighthawks, man, to me, a fantastic movie. One of my favorite Sylvester Stallone movies. Definitely my favorite in that transition from Rocky to First Blood, and a movie that I think everybody should definitely go out there and check out, because it's one that I definitely think doesn't get enough love. And it's good to see you guys all seem to like it, that definitely warms my heart. But I don't know. It definitely is a movie that I think deserves a little bit more attention than it gets. But moving on into the next movie of the hour. This one I actually have the Blu-ray high disc too, from, of course, the Stallone collection here. This is from the year 1993, co-starring the legendary Wesley Snipes. This is Demolition Man. Demolition Man from 1993. Three seashells, anybody? A police officer is brought out of suspended animation in prison to pursue an old ultra-violent nemesis who is loose in a non-violent future society. Yes, Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man. I fucking love Demolition Man. This is, to me, the most unapologetically fun Sly movie. It's so embracing its cheesiness. It's so embracing the early 1990s. And it's taking a shot at the future. And man, it got a lot of things right. You look at what this movie predicted and the political correct world that we live in now, and the whole society that is portrayed in this film. Oh, we can't do violence. Oh, we can't say this and we can't say that, or you'll pay the fine, or nowadays you'll get canceled, or whatever the fuck. How ahead of its time that this movie was. But in and of that fact of telling this story that's very quite meta, and of course the restaurant wars and the Taco Bell and all these things, the three seashells, I think you also have a great story of cat and mouse game, Tom versus Jerry, babyface heel, Stallone versus Snipes. And man, I would argue that Snipes is one of the best heels that Stallone ever had to work against. I just love Wesley Snipes in this movie as Simon Phoenix. And Phoenix! As Stallone jumps out of the plane in the beginning, and they have this epic kind of stare down. Is it hot in here? Or is it just me? As Snipes is trying to burn down the place. And then later on in the film, Stallone throws it back at him. Is it cold in here? Or is it just me? And I love Snipes without missing a beat. Good memory. And all of the fun, martial arts kicks and kung fu fighting that Stallone and Snipes would go at each other with, and the gun battles and things like this. And I don't know, to me, this is one of the most fun Stallone movies. Like, I would say from the fun factor, this might even be number one. Like, I just have such a blast with this movie. It's just such a fun popcorn movie from start to finish. Of course, Stallone and Snipes, they battle at the beginning. Millions of dollars get destroyed. And of course, Phoenix frames Stallone for being a dirty cop, even though he's not. And they both get cryogenically frozen and aren't going to be on parole until the year 20, whatever. I think it's 2032 or something like that. I forget the exact year, but you get the picture. You're way down the road where they're available for parole. And of course, Simon Phoenix gets loose when he is off parole, and he's roaming the streets, murdering people and assaulting people and all these things, because the cops here, they can't do anything. They're fucking wimps. They're wussies and all of that stuff. It's just wild, right? I mean, it's just wild to see what society has come to. And then of course their idea is, let's unfreeze John Spartan, which is Stallone's character's film. Let's unfreeze John Spartan, and we can have him help capture this, post 21st century villain. We have to unthaw this, post or pre 21st century hero. I mean, love that stuff. I love the whole story there. I think it has a great supporting cast. Of course, Sandra Bullock is the love interest in this. And I don't think she ever looked better than she does in this particular movie. Young Sandra Bullock looking fucking hot as hell. And she has some fun lines. And, he really, you really licked his ass, John Spartan. Kicked his ass. I kicked his ass. He has to keep correcting her because she doesn't know how to insult people and stuff like that. You have Rob Schneider in one of his first ever roles, very small role for Rob Schneider. Of course, Jack Black, I believe, makes his theatrical debut in this film as a character has no lines. You have the legendary, I see somebody mentioned it, Dennis Leary, who almost steers the whole fucking film. I love Dennis Leary's rant about the green gelatin. I would smother green gelatin all over my body. I want high cholesterol. I want to eat buckets and buckets of cheese. I want to think, can I have the T-bone steaks or the rack of barbecue ribs? I want to be living in my house and singing, I'm an Oscar Mayer wiener. You live up top, you live Kato's way. What he wants, when he wants, how he wants. You live down here, one of us. I just love Dennis Leary in this as this kind of, rebel going against the grain type character that has this fun interaction with Stallone, which, funny enough, if you watch, Dennis Leary did like a career shoot interview and he buried Stallone and Snipes. He said that the movie was a piece of shit and both of them were pieces of shit. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was really sad to hear that, being such a big fan of this movie. Apparently, he said Stallone was more focused on golfing at this time. Like, he wanted to go golfing, and he was like, hey, Dennis, you want to come golfing with me? And he fucking apparently said, no, I'm not interested. I want to fucking act. And then apparently Snipes wanted to shoot all his stunt scenes and fight scenes, and they would let him do it, and then apparently went behind his back after he would leave the set days, and they would shoot after that. So, and he buried Snipes. He was like, Snipes took himself too seriously. I'm like, bro, like, why you gotta go fucking shit on Sly and Snipes? I think they do a great job in this movie, but I mean, sometimes when you hear the behind the scenes stuff, it's not as pretty as the pictures that you see before you on Blu-ray or whatever the fuck, like that's at least the way that I kind of look at it, which is a shame, but I don't know. I have a fun time with this movie and the whole, the whole restaurant wars and the Taco Bell, and they're having this like gourmet meal at Taco Bell, and all the fight scenes, like when they're in the museum, and I gotta borrow you, and Snipes takes the guy, throws him through the fucking glass, and they're shooting at each other and cutting promos on one another. And I don't know. I think these two guys played off each other really well. This is like a 2-hour cat and mouse game between Stallone and Snipes, and I think the two of them were just fantastic together. I know that there's a lot of deleted scenes with this movie as well. Like Jesse Ventura apparently has a fight scene with Stallone that was completely cut out, left on the cutting room floor. I would love to see that, Stallone versus Jesse the Body Ventura in this movie. I think that would be really, really cool to see, but unfortunately that will probably never see the light of day. You have the very big letdown virtual sex scene between Sly and Sandra Bullock, where she wants to have VR sex, and he's, we got to do it the old-fashioned way, the hunga chunga. And she's like, bodily fluids? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, no, ew, that's so gross. I can't do that. And he's like, what are you talking about? That's the old-fashioned way. He's trying to teach her and all these people the old way, the old way of doing things. And that's the way it used to be, and that's the way it was better, and all of these things. And I don't know, I sort of love that kind of storytelling from Sly. And there's fun car chases, fun action sequences, a great fight at the end between hero and villain, and a very triumphant, battle win for Sly. Sorry, spoiler alert, but I mean, the hero normally wins in these type of movies. I don't know. Always love Demolition Man. I think it's just a fun movie that more people need to love. I know when it came out, it was not really loved, and here we are 30 years later, and this movie still doesn't really get the love I think it deserves. Love Demolition Man. That's just me. But let's check out the comments. I'm very curious to see what you all have to say on this one, because I'm a big fucking fan of this. Such a classic. Now that's an action movie. 100% agree. I hate to be the old man in the room, even though I'm 26 years old. This movie's older than me, and I'm going to have to be the old man in the room here. They don't make them like they used to. All I'm missing is a fucking stogie, right? They don't make them like these. They don't fucking make them like they used to. They don't make movies like this anymore. They don't. The closest thing you'd have to this is a fucking Fast and Furious 10, and we're going to bring John Cena and Jason Momoa in here. It's just, like, what happened to movies like this? What happened to mano y mano? Like you think about it, man, and I forget who it was, but somebody else was making this point on a podcast I was watching. It used to be, you go see the Stallone movie. It used to be you go see the Schwarzenegger movie. It used to be let's go check out the JCVD movie on DVD. Let's go check out the Seagal movie. Let's go check out Chuck Norris movie, Dolph Lundgren, all these wonderful 80s action stars that were fucking bigger than the fucking title of the movie in some certain sense. Like, look at this. Like, it doesn't just say Rocky, it's Sylvester Stallone and Rocky. It doesn't just say, Cobra. It's Stallone is Cobra. That was how it was. You went to go see their movie, it was then the movie would take you from there. And a lot of the times I would like that stuff, but they don't make movies like this anymore. Now it's just so like, I don't know what the word for it would be. It's just artificial. It's very artificial now, where it's to the point where it's like, okay, how many Fast and Furious can we milk? How many Marvel movies can we milk? How many DC movies can we milk? How can we rip off the Spider-Man No Way Home? Let's do a fucking DC version where it's the universe, and oh my God, we could bring back Michael Keaton and all of these fanboys that grew up in 1989 and were peeing in their pajamas when Michael Keaton was Batman. They can come and see, and fucking we get their money too. It's all what they can do. It's all what they do is just re-ride nostalgia over and over and over again. The best they can do is the same shit and just remilk it over and over. And man, that's why I appreciate a movie like a Demolition Man. That's why I appreciate movies like this. Like even like early 2000s movies would still be in that, like The Protector. That's a movie I always love. But this guy gets his fucking pet elephant robbed from him. I think Tony Jaa, or I forget his damn name, but he gets his fucking elephant stolen from him. And the whole movie is just this guy trying to get his elephant back. It's like 75 minutes, and it's one of the best action movies I've ever seen. They just don't make simple action movies like this anymore. And if they do, they're normally franchise movies. It's like, oh, we'll do a buddy cop movie between The Rock and Jason Statham, but it's a Fast and Furious production because we're so afraid that it won't sell. That's lame. Like, oh, it has to be Hobbs and Shaw. Bullshit. Those two, The Rock and Jason Statham, are going to draw. It's just bullshit. It's just, I'm sorry. I don't mean to go off a tangent, but it just fucking pisses me off. El Carne es la Rata. Dennis Leary and the crew in the sewers. Yes, this is a good burger, right? Yeah. Oh, it's a rat burger? But the best burger I've had in years. It's because it's fucking thawed in ice for years. Greetings and salutations. Apparently when Klaus Kinski died and had his funeral, there was next to no one from the family at his funeral. That's sad. That should tell you how well-liked he was. That is sad, though, that nobody came. Yeah, Dennis Leary is awesome. Love his dude, his monologues in this are some of my favorite shit ever. Like, he's great. I actually really like Dennis Leary. Like, man, like when I think about Dennis Leary, I always think of a movie called oh my God, it was with fucking Emilio Estevez and Cuba Gooding Jr. Judgment Night from like the early 90s. He's great in that. I love him and Estevez and Cuba Gooding, and that's a great movie as well. I really like that. Of course, always really liked Rescue Me, which was the show where he was the lead. He played this firefighter that was always fucking around and talking to his dead best friend. And I actually really like Dennis Leary. It's a shame that he fucking, said that Sly and Snipes weren't good people. He did horrible shit to his own daughter, Sean. Did he really? I didn't know that. Yeah, I hear you, John. Oh, you're guys talking about Klaus Kinski. Okay, I thought you were talking about Dennis Leary. I would have just burned him in the casket. Oh shit. Agreed. Bullock is smoking in this one, dude. Smoking hot in these fucking leather boots. Oh my God, that's fucking top shelf woman at that time, man. Like her in this in Heat. That was, Sandra Bullock at her peak. Apparently, Kinski's son was the only person at his funeral. Wow. Yeah, Bullock is num yum in this movie. Hell yeah. Dennis Leary. I'm an ass Holio. Absolutely. Simon Says You're Dead. I love Snipes in this, man. Snipes is fucking great. And look, now all the VR media, et cetera, chip implant types of people having it's true. There's virtual reality porn now. This movie literally predicted that. Like, there's so much that this movie was ahead of its time for, Okay, I got to go join another stream on another channel, but have a great night and a safe weekend, everybody. Sean, thank you so much for checking out the show, brother. Always glad to have you here. Peace, Sean. I was 20 when Demolition Man came out. Dude, wow, that's crazy. I was negative like 4 when Demolition Man came out. They would make a sequel and have them team up. Oh my God, yeah. They would team up and they'd fight Jack Black or Jesse Ventura, or they would fight CGI Jesse Ventura in the end. It'd be horrible. Same here, Jamie. Yeah, no, fucking that would be horrible. Big buff guys are offensive now. But it's like You know what I mean? Like it used to draw. That used to be like it wasn't. Oh, we're going to see the fucking Fast and Furious 10. Like no, we're going to see Stallone. We're seeing the Stallone movie. Whatever the fuck it may be. Same with Schwarzenegger. Like oh, who cares? Kindergarten Cop. That sounds like fuck it. It's Schwarzenegger. It's Arnold, man. We can't wait to go see this. Oh, Racer. Oh, True Lies. We don't know what these movies are going in because they're not sequels. They're not remakes. They're fucking original films with big action stars in them to sell. That the name Schwarzenegger sold the ticket, not the fucking movie and the notion of what I knew about the movie beforehand because I didn't know about it beforehand because it was fucking original. It just pisses me off. The Hunga Chunga? I want you saying that to be my dude. That's what Sly says in this movie. You I want to do it the old fashioned way. You know, the Hunga Chunga. That's the fucking best. All computer generated graphics and glitz and glam now, of course. Greetings, fellow Gen Xer. Jamie Hart say hi. Last of a rare dying breed. No, you guys are not dying. You're fine. You're fine. You're absolutely fine. I'm glad to have you here on the show. But Demolition Man, one of my all-time faves. Love it to pieces. I think this is a great, great movie. Highly recommend. But that brings me to another 1980s classic, and I've got to break out the Stallone collection. I mean, we're breaking out the discs here, where this may be my favorite co-star that Sly ever had the privilege to dance with. And I mean, this actor I've done a spotlight on before, and this movie was on that episode as one of his top 10 performances. And man, it was so cool for me because being a big fan of both actors, you know, arguably two of my favorite, definitely both of my top 5 favorite actors of all time, to do a buddy cop film together. And like I was saying before, you know, they don't do buddy cop movies or they don't do heel versus babyface one-on-one type of movies anymore. You know, they don't make movies like Tango and Cash anymore either. And of course, that's the, you know, anticlimactic way of introducing this movie from 1989. This is Tango and Cash. Framed by their ruthless arch nemesis, a mismatched LAPD crime fighting duo has to put its differences aside to even the score with the evil kingpin who put them behind bars once and for all. Yes, Tango and Cash. Cash and Tango. Gotta love Tango and Cash. To me, the greatest buddy cop movie of all time, because you have my two of my top 5 favorite actors of all time. Kurt Russell might be number 1. I mean, to see these two together as this buddy cop, I mean, just a dream come true. Like a fucking wet dream come true. Like when I fucking found this movie at the video, I was like, what? Fucking Stallone and Kurt Russell did a buddy cop movie together? Like, take my money, man. Like, take it. Like, I don't give a fuck. And I like what they did here because they have Stallone play the more buttoned up, sophisticated, smart one, where he's more intelligent. He's wearing the glasses to try to look smarter. He's got the, you know, more elaborate dress wear, whereas Kurt Russell's in a baggy ass t-shirt and jeans and the cowboy boots. He's more of the, you know, garbage man looking type. And then Stallone is the sophisticated kind of smart one. I really liked that dynamic here, and it's a very fun movie where in the opening scene, Stallone has this cocaine bust, and the guy goes, "Oh, hey, this guy thinks he's Rambo," and of course, without missing a beat, Sly goes, "Rambo is a pussy." I love it. He shoots the fucking truck, and all the cocaine starts pouring out. I love that. Just kind of a knock at himself. Like Rambo's a pussy compared to fucking Ray Tango. I mean, I love that. And of course, Kurt Russell, on the other hand, is Gabe Cash, this kind of above the law cop that you know will break any rule to get the perk and all of these things, and they get targeted by, of course, Jack Palance's character in this, who, you know, he wants their heads and he wants Tango and Cash, Cash and Tango. Great stuff. He's working with fucking Brian James and James Hong from, of course, you know, Big Trouble Little China. Always really loved him in that. I think James Hong's a great actor. But it's fun to see these two play off each other and some of the dialogue between the two where they're at the court and Stallone gives this very like wordy and sophisticated and professional speech. And, you know, I would be afforded to keep working with these men and not serve prison time. And he kisses all the right ass, right? And then Kurt Russell, I have something to add to that. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, yes, I do. No, you don't. He's begging him not to. And fucking Kurt Russell gets up and he goes, what Tango was saying, it was very nice and well put. But in my opinion, this whole thing fucking sucks. And fucking the whole courtroom just bursts out laughing and everybody's fucking throwing babies in the air. I mean, it's great as they're sent to prison and they have all these fucking knocks at each other in the shower and, you know, all this fun with beating up some of the guards and beating up some of the fucking inmates and stuff like that. Really fun. I like to see these two guys play off each other. Like it was just a dream come true for somebody like me to see my two of my favorite action stars of all time. Like I got to see a Robin Williams Kurt Russell collaboration in The Best of Times, which I don't mind that movie. I actually like that movie, directed by Roger Spottiswoode. I like that movie too. And to see Sly and Kurt Russell was also fairly really cool too. Like I wish any of them would have worked with John Candy, because John Candy's another one of my all-time faves. I know Stallone was supposed to work with John Candy, and it was supposed to be like a Neighbors movie, and then I guess they dropped it down to Belushi and Aykroyd. I think that was what it was. No. That was okay. I'm sorry. That was 1981. That was Neighbors. They dropped it down to Belushi and I think it was Belushi and Aykroyd, and they switched parts. And then Stallone was supposed to work with John Candy before he died in a similar movie. It was like going to be a remake of that movie, of Neighbors from 1981. It's supposed to be like a different type of movie with them, with similar plot, whatever. That would have been really cool to see that. Just see Stallone and John Candy. That would have been something I would have liked to see. But I'm very happy that you get the Kurt Russell and Stallone collaboration here. I think it's a lot of fun. Like again, and seeing Sly, I know in interviews past he said he wishes he had played Gabe Cash. I don't think so at all. I think the role for him to play was Ray Tango. I think that was definitely more of an interesting role for him to play, with this more sophisticated guy, this more buttoned down guy, this more by the book guy, as opposed to a Marion Cobretti who was, completely above the law. And this is where the law stops and I start. This is a performance where it's like he's being much more by the book and by the law, if you will. And I quite like that. Kurt Russell has a thing with Stallone's sister in the movie, played by Terry Hatcher, who she looks fucking amazing in this. I always remember a Satchel ass bitch from the Desperate Housewives when she was like mid-40s, when she was Satchel. But man, in this movie, holy shit, she's beautiful in this movie. And she's playing Stallone's sister, and Kurt Russell kind of has a thing for her, and he's like, did you stop my sister? He's like, I might have. Let's just say she's more free than a lot of the girls in the fight. Like, just Kurt Russell is great as Cash. Like, I love the two of them playing off each other, and Tango, Cash, calling each other's names as they're being electrocuted, and the whole kind of finale where Michael J. Pollard makes the fucking war machine for them, and they're taking out all the villains and explosions and all that stuff. And I had the shot. Yeah, I know you had the shot. Like, just great stuff. I really like these two guys playing against each other, that they were great. And I know that at the time they thought this was going to be a bigger hit than it was. It wasn't necessarily a bomb, but they thought it was going to be a monster hit where they would do a trilogy, and it wasn't that monster hit. The movie did not make as much money as they thought it was going to. It did not get the greatest reviews. The producer, who of course we all remember from the Death of Superman, I guess, or the Batman movie from 1989, John Peters, who everyone remembers the famous Kevin Smith story, where John Peters, he wanted to do the Superman movie where Superman couldn't fly, couldn't be in the suit, and he had to fight a fucking giant tarantula in the third act. John Peters, that same guy, was the producer of this, and he wanted it to be a parody of buddy cop movies, whereas Stallone and the director, they more so wanted to be a fun buddy cop film, but with some serious elements in it. And that's the movie you get, which I think was the right move. I definitely think that was the right way to go. Another, people say Sly being a prima donna, and it may be true. Unfortunately, Sly got Barry Sonnenfeld fired from this movie. Weird story. So Barry Sonnenfeld, one of the best director of photographies of all time. Of course, he directed the Addams Family movies not too long after this. And of course, the Men in Black movies. I mean, I love Barry Sonnenfeld. I think he's great. He was director of photography, and he was supposed to be director of photography in this movie. And Stallone personally fucking fired him himself because he didn't like how he was being lit. That's like bizarre to me. And actually, if that's true, which I'm pretty sure the story's true, that's not right, Sly. Like, that's fucked up. And that's also one of the greatest director of photographies ever. So I think he made the wrong fucking choice here, because I think Barry Sonnenfeld would have been a much better choice for DOP. Just saying, I think it would have been better. But of course, I love the scene where they're playing good cop, worst cop, and they're fucking threatening this guy, and Kurt Russell's like, I'll shoot him in the leg and he'll talk. He goes, no. He goes, you know what? Fuck this guy. And Stallone tapes this grenade to his mouth, and he's pretending to pull it off, and he's like, he's screaming, and Kurt Russell's like, I heard you were a psychopath, but this is too fucking far. Blowing off that guy's face with a hand grenade is a touch much, don't you think? And fucking Stallone's like, well, I don't really care. He's like, I want the whole package. And I think he's fucking great in this. I just love Sly and Kurt Russell together. I think they were like born to be fucking, buddy cop partners in this movie. I think it was fucking great. To be honest, I don't like Arnie for his buff bod. I think he's legit hilarious and love him. I think and that's the thing. Like Arnold had a charm to him, man. Like there was few people that had that charm like Arnold. Like I love Commando. I love The Running Man. I love Total Recall. I love Terminator. I mean, so many great movies. But like, you watch Kindergarten Cop, that's a great performance. Like, he's funny. There is no bathroom, and the charm and the kids, and like he was a guy that could do both. He really was. Like I think Arnold, he doesn't get enough respect when it comes to his chops as an actor. Like you even watch a movie like Maggie, where his daughter is like this person, she's like turning into a zombie. Dramatic wise, though, he did a great job. I don't know. I think Arnold is great. I really think Arnold is one of the best ever. Did I review the Stallone porno, aka the Italian Stallion, yet? No, I did not. I'm skipping the Italian Stallion. I hope you can forgive me. Is Grudge Match on your list? No, it is fucking not. That was, of course, let's get fucking Robert De Niro, who played the Raging Bull. Let's get Sly Stallone, who played Rocky Balboa, and have them together. I don't like that movie. I thought that movie was just a fucking letdown. I don't know. There's a much better Sly De Niro collaboration, and it may just be next. Love Tango and Cash. Me and my brother watched this movie together 1,000 times. No dialogues, by heart. Movie very well scripted too. Yeah, I agree, man. This is one of those movies very quotable, very fun, and I hate Danish. And man, this disc, I feel it is pushing back into your back. Well, when you're sliding down a 40-foot cable going 50 miles per hour in the pouring rain and you land on your back, something's going to slip. I mean, I love that. Stop or my mom will shoot with Estelle Getty, which I love Estelle Getty. I know Sly for a long time said that was his worst movie. I don't think so. I would watch that over Rhinestone. I'd watch it over Backtrace. I'd watch it over Bullet to the Head. I'd watch it over Avenging Angelo. To me, the worst Stallone film is Driven. Driven is the worst Stallone film. That is the biggest piece of shit. I don't know how the fuck Rennie Harlan directed that. Like, that kills me that Rennie Harlan directed that, man. That's a piece of shit. Kenny might have worked in that one. I think Kenny would have been great. I think it would have been so cool to see them work together. You better have Rhinestone as your number one. Well, you're going to be disappointed. James Abernathy is here. Welcome, James. Hope you're feeling better. This era of film was lucky to have supporting characters like Brian James or Brian Thompson, familiar faces that give you a buzz to simply see. Absolutely agree with that. They brought a nice intensity to this movie. You ball my sister, right? I love that. And you have 23 and a half hours. I mean, starting when? Starting now. I love that. Barry Sonnenfeld was also the producer of Misery. Dude, Barry Sonnenfeld is one of the best ever. I don't understand why Sly would fire him. Junior, yes. Or the line is, it's not a tumor. It's not a tumor. True, Arnie has greater range. He does. He really, I would say Stallone does too. Driven is whack. Completely agree. But moving on into the next movie on our list, and this is, speaking about range that a lot of people don't think that Sly would have, and so far we have talked a lot of, whether it be buddy cop movies, whether it be versus movies, whether it be, all of these movies that we've been talking about so far. A lot of them definitely can fall under similar categories, but this next one here, I think Sylvester Stallone should have won an Oscar for. And I think that it's his most underrated performance, his most underrated movie. This is from the year 1997 and director James Mangold. This is Copland. Yes, Copland from the year 1997. Brief plot synopsis. The sheriff of a suburban New Jersey community populated by New York City police officers slowly discovers the town is a front for a mob connection and corruption. Yes, Copland from 1997. The first word that comes to my mind is robbery. Robbery, straight robbery. Stallone should have won Best Actor at the Academy Awards in 1997. I don't know who won. I don't remember who won. It should have been Sly. And it's a crime, no pun intended, in a movie called Copland, a crime that he wasn't even at least nominated for this. And this movie got nothing. This movie was supposed to be a bigger hit than it was. I know Sly in interviews after this actually stated that it did hurt his career and was a big reason why he went direct to video coming into the new millennium of the early 2000s, which is a shame, but it may be the truth because this was expected to be a bigger hit critically, commercially, all the, boxes than it was. But man, in my opinion, it's his most underrated. I think it's a fucking fantastic film, which tells the story of this, like I said, suburban New Jersey town, and Sly is the sheriff of this town. Of course, all of the people that live, almost all of the people exclusively in the town are cops. Harvey Keitel is like the lead, and Ray Liotta is one of them. Robert Patrick is one of them. You see a lot of familiar faces from The Sopranos. Any Sopranos fans, you'll see Edie Falco in there. You'll see Tony Sirico, may he rest in peace, in some pictures. He plays Tony whatever. He's in the pictures and stuff like that. And, of course, Michael Rappaport. Just an A-list cast. One of the best casts from top to bottom. Arguably the best cast he ever had, top to bottom. Janine Garofalo is one of his deputies. Of course, the guy from Truman Show, I always forget his name, Michael something. Really good actor. Really like him as well in this movie. I think, what the hell is his damn name? I actually want to get his damn name now. Frank Vincent is also in the movie for brief. Noah Emmerich is actually the guy's name that I was thinking of, who plays his second in command. But I like the performance from Sly in this movie. I think stands out because he is a turtle. And what do I mean by that? If you watch the movie closely, you see a lot of symbolism of turtles. You see a stuffed turtle. You see turtles at the fucking carnival, then the local carnival. Sly is a turtle in a way that he's been living in a shell, and he's very slow to realize what's going on. And the whole world has passed him by because he's this guy that it was his biggest dream to be a city cop, to be a big wig deal in the city and be a part of the force. And of course, due to saving the love of his life, played by Annabella Sciorra, who, of course, another Sopranos alumni, she was Gloria Trillo in season 3 of The Sopranos. She's great in this movie. And I didn't realize when I was doing my research in this, I didn't realize how rough of a career she had with the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. I didn't realize she was one of the women that was very much a part of that. And I feel terrible for her because I think she lost her career over it. And that is a fucking shame. So I want to say, on a side note, fuck you, Harvey Weinstein, you fat fuck. I hope you fucking rot in hell, you fat bastard. Because this woman was not only a great actress, but I think she gives a great performance in this movie, Annabella Sciorra. I love her as the love interest. He goes in, dives in the river to save her. In doing so, he goes deaf in one ear, and thus he's relegated to being the local sheriff who doesn't have a lot of crime rate in a town that's primarily cops. And of course, this whole circumstance happens where Michael Rappaport kills these two men that he believes were shooting at him, even though they weren't. And then Harvey Keitel and company, they're trying to cover it up. And slowly but surely, Sly has to come to the realization that, Harvey Keitel and Robert Patrick's character, they're behind all this corruption and all these bad things happening. And Robert De Niro actually comes to tell him, listen, there are bad things going on in your town, and you've got to listen to me. You've got to hear me out. And Sly doesn't listen to him. Sly is, okay, like, I understand, but I think everything's fine. He's slow. That's the whole point of the character. It's someone who had his hopes and dreams taken away from him from this accident, saving the woman he loved. It's the woman he loved going in turn marrying Peter Berg, who, of course, became a very big filmmaker. And, of course, I always remember from Wes Craven's Shocker. He's the lead protagonist in Wes Craven's Shocker. Love Peter Berg. She goes on, marries him, and he's an abusive asshole to her and things like that. And it's eating Stallone alive, and you could see it. He really sells that pain with just his facial expression in this, as he sees, man, that's the woman I love. That's the woman I wanted to marry. It's the woman I wanted to be with. They have a great heartfelt scene where she comes and knocks on his door, and they sit on the couch together playing some Bruce Springsteen music. Mernsey, I know you love the Bruce Springsteen music in this. You love the Bruce Springsteen. I love the Pamela Springsteen. There's plenty of Springsteens to go around. She is talking to him, and she says, Freddie, and she's like, rubbing her hand on his face, and she says, why did you never get married? And he says, because all the best girls are taken. And he kind of tears up and cries. And some of the best acting I've ever seen Sly do. Like, you can argue this to be number one. I mean, that's how good he is in the film. And I love this slow character realization and build of, I don't like what's going on in this town. I really don't like what's going on in this town, Ray. And Harvey Keitel riding him throughout the whole film, telling him what to do. Get him out of here, Freddie. Go home, Freddie. Take her out, Freddie. Put her back in the car, Freddie. He keeps bossing Stallone around, telling him what to do. And then, of course, Stallone realizes, I've got to do something. Something's got to change. Otherwise, they're going to get away with this forever. I'm just sitting here, drinking my life away, sitting here wallowing in my own self-pity and feeling sorry for myself when I can be making a change. I can be living my dream, even though I had my ultimate dream of the city cop taken away. He goes to meet Robert De Niro's character in the city and apologizes. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you, but I'm here now, and please hear me out. And De Niro has this great, you blew bad. I gave you the chance and you blew it. That was 2 weeks ago. In this great scene with the two of them where De Niro's more interested in the pickles on his sandwich than what Sly has to say, and it stirs Sly up, and you people, you're all the same. And he storms out of there, and De Niro, out missing a beat, eating his sandwich. He goes, now, if that cupcake makes a mess, we've got a case again. Love that. And, of course, Sly does make a mess. And he, of course, confronts Robert Patrick and Harvey Keitel and all these things. And there's a great finale in this film where they shoot the other side, the good ear. Robert Patrick shoots the side of it so he's completely deaf. And what James Mangold, the director, does, he mutes the sound. It's just like that ringing sound as Sly finally rises up and decides, I'm taking these son of a bitches out. And, he walks up and this is great, just like almost like Western type of finale with this. And that's what the director James Mangold was going for. A Western movie, like a modern day Western with Sly Stallone and, Ray Liotta, who Ray Liotta is also great in the film. I mean, if there was a best supporting actor, I actually would give it to Ray Liotta because he's great in this movie. Like, love him as one of the other good cops who's calling out De Niro for all his calling out Keitel for all his bullshit. It's not my fault that you can't look at him. It's not my fault that you can't look at him in the mirror because you were responsible. I mean, great stuff. And justice is not a bulletproof vest, Freddie. I love Ray Liotta's intensity of this. May Ray Liotta rest in peace. He was great. I would say this is his second best performance, right behind his performance in Goodfellas. Love Ray Liotta in this. And the whole shootout at the end where he and Ray Liotta are shooting Robert Patrick and all these people, and the whole final stare down between Keitel and Stallone where Liotta distracts him, turns, boom, shoots him in the stomach. And you see Harvey Keitel mouthing words to him. And my favorite line of the movie where Stallone, without missing a beat, I can't hear you, Ray. Like the whole movie, like I said, riding him, telling him what to do. And by the end, I can't hear you, Ray. I can't hear you anymore. I'm not listening to the bullshit. I'm not listening to, the corruption, and I'm not going to play along with it because I feel bad for myself and the woman I love is not going to be with me. I can't hear you anymore. I'm a turtle. I'm coming out of my shell now. And I love the whole character arc as Stallone delivers Michael Rappaport to Robert De Niro at the end, and the movie pans out. I mean, one of my favorites for pound movie. It's got to be top 3 Stallone movies. Performance, it could be number 1. It's number 4 here. It's definitely debatable, but to me, Copland is one of the all-time greats and a movie that is easily his most underrated. I wish people would give this a watch, man. I really do. If there's one movie I'd recommend on this list, because I know people have probably seen the next 3. For sure, they've seen the next 3. ICU is a movie maybe people haven't seen, but this is the one I'd recommend the most if you haven't seen it. I disagree. Worst movie of Sly is Oscar, hands down. They even tainted Tim Curry. Oscar is a movie where I don't hate it, but again, it's definitely not on this list. It's more him trying to do like a 50s style comedy, which I appreciate, but I agree. Like, it's definitely not a Stallone movie I reach for, but I would put it over Avenging Angelo. I would put it over Shade. I would put it over Driven. I would put it over some of the fucking Escape Plan sequels and shit. Like, I definitely would put it over those movies. Gotta be Copland. Hell yeah, man. Gotta love Copland. Love it. I think it's super underrated. Daylight is up there for me. That just missed the list. Daylight would have been number 12 or number 11. Daylight and Lockup just missed this list. So brief spoiler, but yeah, those two just missed. After First Blood came out, there were a lot of movies who had spoofed the character of Rambo, including the 1989 underrated comedy UHF. Yeah, no, that was the thing, the spoof Sly. It would appear Grande has a crush on cops or Stallone is a cop. Oh, just kidding. Well, he played a cop a lot, right? I mean, but this one completely different than a Marion Cobretti, completely different than a fucking John Spartan, completely different than Ray Tango. This is fucking Freddie Heflin, and to me, the turtle that finds his character arc and comes out of his shell slowly but surely and beats the big bad wolf that is Harvey Keitel. I don't think I don't know. I don't think this movie got its just desserts, man. Like, where were the Academy? When I hear the Academy Awards coming around, like, you look at this fucking cast, you would think this has got to be up for Best Picture. No, didn't get nothing. It was a fart in the wind. It's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre. And not too long after this, Sly was going direct to DVD with Burn Hollywood Vern or fucking ICU or Avenging Angelo. I mean, movies that was it. It is a shame. I think if he had won the Oscar here, who knows? Maybe it would have changed his career for the better. It really is. Love that Mangold wrote it too. Yeah, so many Sopranos cameos repping that Jersey scene. Hell yeah, man. You need a ton of Sopranos people in this, which is a lot of fun. And James Mangold's gone on to do movies like Logan and 310 to Yuma. I really like James Mangold, the director. And those are movies that Logan got a Best Picture nomination, not Copland. Bizarre. I like Copland better. Nicholson for as good as it gets. I think Copland is a great, great movie. I love Nicholson, but I would have gave it to Sly. Nicholson had already won by that point. I think Nicholson did he win twice? I know he won for Cuckoo's Nest. And then did fucking Nicholson win again after that? I don't know, but somebody had to check me on that. He kept the two turtles from Rocky too. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Annabelle S. in Jungle Fever. Love Annabelle Esquiora. She's a really good actress, really good looking woman. Rappaport is hit or miss for me. I either can't stand him in films or I like him in I actually really like him in a movie called Big Fan with Patton Oswalt. And he's brief role in the movie, but Michael Rappaport does a good job in that. Philadelphia Phil. Anyone who's seen that movie would know what I mean. I can't hear you, Ray. That dude, amazing. One of my favorite. I love that fucking movie. It's Trenchy. Trenchy's in the house. Welcome, my friend. Hope all is well with you. I got to see Copland. Highly recommend. Immediately, if not sooner, definitely. It's on HBO Max if you have not, if you have that. John, Sasha, and Mac have been telling me about it for months, just haven't gotten to it. Yeah, no, that's the deal, man. Sometimes it's not easy to get through every fucking movie. That people recommend, but it is what it is. The comic book movie Grande with Rappaport? No. So Big Fan is a great independent movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. This is a brief. I can plug Big Fan because I love that movie, and I don't think I'll ever get a chance to talk about it on the Graveyard. It's about Patton Oswalt's character, and he plays this giant New York Giants fan, pun intended, I guess. He's the biggest New York Giants fan, but he's poor. He works as a parking garage clerk, and, he's 40 years old, not married, still lives with his mother. He's like the quintessential 40-year-old, 10-year-old that loves the New York Giants. The only thing he's passionate about, the only thing he loves is the New York Giants. And then one night he sees his favorite player at a nightclub and basically says the wrong thing to him. He gets his ass beat and the player gets suspended for it. And then the whole movie is him trying to not push allegations or charges against the player because he wants the Giants to win. And it is a funny movie, but it's also a great drama. Like, it gets dark at times. And I think Philadelphia Phil, of course, the Michael Rappaport role in it's great. Like, there's a great scene towards the end. That's a movie I don't want to ruin, but there's a great scene with he and Patton Oswalt at the end that I think is some of the best stuff independent cinema has had in a long time. Highly recommend. Big Fan if you haven't seen it. A movie that I don't think I'd ever have the chance to review on here unless it was a solo review, which I would do. I would totally do independent solo reviews if people were interested. But that brings us to the top three. And coming in at number 3 is the movie that, for me, started it, the first Stallone movie I ever saw from the year 1976, and arguably the best Stallone movie out there, probably the best Stallone movie, but performance, it falls at number 3. This is Rocky. Yes, Rocky coming in at the number 3 slot. Brief plot synopsis for you. A small-time Philadelphia boxer gets a supremely rare chance to fight the world heavyweight champion in a bout in which he strives to go the distance for his own self-respect. Stallone in Rocky. But this is such a hard movie to review because it's like, what else do you say? I mean, everybody knows fucking Rocky, right? I mean, it's one of the great underdog stories, one of the most inspirational movies of all time, a love story. The behind the scenes story of the Stallone wrote it over 3 or 4 days in his notebook with a pen or pencil, and he wouldn't sell the rights because they wanted to have all these other actors play the part. He refused and said, I'll take a pay cut, just let me play the fucking thing, and we can go from there. And they did. The director, John G. Avildsen, who made the movie look very gritty and grimy and really captured the atmosphere of Philadelphia in the 1970s. I mean, really good looking film from John G. Avildsen. I love how, gritty and grimy it looks. All the great character actors, whether it be Burt Young as Paulie, his best friend who works in the meat factory, or whether it be Burgess Meredith as Mickey, and, it's a waste of life, and women weaken legs. You're going to eat lightning and you're going to corrupt thunder. I mean, love Burgess Meredith from all the Twilight Zones, and him showing up here as Mickey. Great. Talia Shire, who I've never been a big Talia Shire fan, look-wise, acting-wise, whatever, but she does, I think, her best job in this movie. I think she's the most standable and likable as Adrian in this movie, personally. That's just kind of how I feel. I like her in this a lot as the love interest, Adrian, this quiet woman at the pet shop who, Rocky comes in, tries to flirt with and tell jokes. You see that Rocky is this just good-hearted guy that goes around and, fights these local fights and is this great character. I mean, I love Stallone as the character. And of course, he is this, he works for Joe Spinell to pick up side money because obviously fighting doesn't pay all the bills. He lives in this, really shitty apartment with fucking turtles and, he's just this really good-hearted guy who all of a sudden, this standard, normal, everyday life gets the opportunity of a lifetime to face Apollo Creed for the heavyweight championship of the world. And I love the Carl Weathers line in this movie: "The Italian Stallion versus Apollo Creed sounds like a damn monster movie." Amazing, just absolutely amazing. I love Carl Weathers in this. Tony Burton as Apollo's trainer. Duke, love him. He brings a great intensity to all these Rocky movies. And the story of a true underdog, a story of someone who went out for his own self-respect, who, knows he's probably going to go into this and lose, but wants to go the distance because nobody ever has before. And to prove to himself that he wasn't just any other bum from the neighborhood, that he could fly, that he could be bigger, better, and better than anyone ever thought that he could. The true underdog story of Sylvester Stallone is Rocky, who, of course, like I'm saying, the parallel of his real life, which hits here. This down his luck, actor making movies for, porn movies for money, making movies like, Lords of Flatbush, which was, iffy movie, and Death Race 2000, where he was the villain, and playing thugs in movies where he would rob guys like Jack Lemmon. Small roles. People didn't think he could play the hero, when in fact he, in my opinion, becomes the greatest babyface in cinema's history. And this is the movie where it really kicked that off. I love this movie from top to bottom. I love Burt Young as Paulie and the whole punch in the meat and I invented this and all that, and the music, of course, and gonna fly now, ba, 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 da, da, and take it back, do 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 do, take it back. Do 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 do. I mean, amazing. I love the music in this, and just the whole story. I think it's just such an inspirational story. It's a movie that teaches us and makes us believe in ourselves. And of course, all the iconic shots of Rocky running up the steps and the music playing behind him and raising his arms. Let's go. Like, let's fucking get pumped up, man. I just love the vibe and feel that this movie gives off. And to me, the best scene in the movie, Sly acting wise, and he's had a lot of charm in this. I love the, why are you a fighter? Because I can't sing or dance, and they told me I don't have much of a brain, so you better start developing your body. And my parents told me the opposite. But the real scene to me that makes this great, and the reason he should have won an Oscar, in my opinion, is the scene where he goes to see the arena the night before. And the promoter's there, and, "Hey, Rocky, how you doing?" And he says, "Hey, they got the poster wrong. I'm wearing the white with the red stripe." And the guy, inadvertently, in my opinion, is a dick back to him. He says, "Oh, well, it really doesn't matter, does it? I'm sure you give him a hell of a show." Saying basically that you're nothing, you're a fill-in, you're a replacement. You're just pretty much here to get your head punched in by the heavyweight champion within 3 rounds, and that's all we think of you. And he goes back home, he sits down and breaks down, and he says, "Adrian, I can't do it." And she says, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "I can't beat him. I can't do it." And he just starts crying. He's like, "Man, I can't do this." And it's quite heartfelt when he's going on. And he says, "If that bell rings and I go the distance and I'm still standing, I'll prove to myself that I'm not just any other bum from the neighborhood, is that I belonged here, that I was great, that I could go the distance with Creed." And the fight itself is just great, and the music from top to bottom is just amazing. Of course, the Bill Conti score. I love Bill Conti's music in this. As they go the distance, and the great music plays, and Adrian runs, and it wasn't about winning or losing, because he does lose the unanimous decision or the split decision to Apollo Creed. Adrian runs in the ring. "Where's your hat? I love you. I love you." And they hug, embrace. They play the triumphant music, and it's just one of the most inspirational. I watched it Saturday. I cried. I fucking cried. Like, what a great movie. Just a perfect film. I remember my mom always told me the story. She went to go see this. I think she was Wow, maybe 10 years old. She went to go see this with my grandfather. And I remember he got out and she said that he was like literally in the streets of New York City. That was great. Go see Rocky. And I would have liked to think I maybe had done the same thing. I mean, the first time I saw this, I remember I wanted to be a boxer. I was like, man, I want to be a boxer. I remember my dad bought the punching bag and, play the Hearts on Fire, Strong Desire. Granted, that's Rocky 4 and Eye of the Tiger, Rocky 3. And I mean, I love these movies. The whole series I love. I'm a big Rocky fan. But it all started here. The best Rocky film, one of Sly's best performance. I have two over this, but man, to me, one of few perfect films out there. Rocky, a love story, an underdog story, one of the great casts, one of the great underdogs, and to me, one of the great movies of all time. Definitely one of my favorite Best Picture winners as well when it comes to Academy Awards. Love Stallone and Rocky. To me, one of the greats. So that is number 3. Let's go back to comments. We got 2 more movies to talk about here. Wow, we have a lot of them here. Holy shit. Think we were here. It's comic book villains. I like that one. Okay, solo reviews would be cool. Yeah, no, I haven't done that in a long time. I'd like to. I definitely would like to do like independent movies that people have never heard of. Because like I have a even though I'm a diehard horror fan, I've seen a lot of fucking films, so it'd be fun to talk about other stuff too. I still get misty eyed at the end, dude. I get misty eyed at a lot of the Rocky movies. Like this last time I cried. I love you. Where's your hat? I fucking started crying and. The Paulie, where he lifts up the rope for Adrian. I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for this. I love Rocky, man. I think what makes Rocky such a great movie is how he gets to prove that he is more than what everybody thinks he is. Yeah, no, and that's, I think, a mirroring thing. We all want to prove that we're better than people think we are. That's what's so inspirational about it. It's in this movie. It's in Rocky where Sly teaches us how to fly, man. This is gonna fly now. We're gonna fly now. It's just so inspirational. Love Rocky. Adrian! Remember the claymation bricks commercials? Adrian! I actually don't know what you're referring to. I've not seen that. With Penguin in your corner, you can't lose. Of course. Who could lose with fucking Mr. Dingle the Strong in your corner? Damn, that was a good Meredith. It's a waste of life. I love Burgess Meredith in this movie, man, and he was great. Trenchies. And fun fact, same year he did Burnt Offerings, I believe, or Burnt Offerings might have been the year before this. I don't know, but always love Burgess Meredith. Absolutely love and support if you did solo Graveyard episodes. It's your graveyard. That's true. Yeah, no, I don't. The reason I don't is primarily because I spend Monday through Wednesday prepping for this. The Actors Spotlight, these shows are the hardest to prep for because it's 10 fucking movies. Next week, Amityville is only going to be 9, one less, but I may split the Amityville up. I may do 4 and then 5 or, 5 and then 4. I don't know how I'm going to split up the Amityville. I might do a 2-part episode for Amityville, but next week, at least you'll get 1 through 4 for sure. And I'm planning on going to the Amityville house and just taking a video outside, just being like, there it is, like promo for the graveyard. Your Mickey was very close to Gilbert. Yeah, no, I guess that some of them, you can't be perfect with everybody. I guess that raspy voice, like imagine Gilbert Gottfried fucking coaching Rocky. That'd be hysterical. Like that would be some of the funniest shit ever. Meredith's still my favorite Penguin. Rocky's great. Rewatched the first 4 recently. What a ride. Love those movies. Eddie Murphy segment about when Italian guys walked out of Rocky is hilarious. That's a great one. Or Journey. I say my favorite Adrian scene is the part with her getting Rocky to open up on the beach. Oh, that's great. Yeah, I love Rocky 3 where you've never quit anything, and the whole time I know you. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid. I think he's great in all of these movies, man. I really do. Who's down for seeing Grande do filming location and run the steps of Philly? Hell yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it in a heartbeat, man. There are a lot of modern examples. Brief fun fact. I don't know if anybody's in the Pittsburgh area, but I will be at the Living Dead weekend in Pittsburgh next month. I'm going to fly into Pittsburgh. Can't fucking wait for that. Going to meet my heroes, fucking Ken Foree, Scott Reiniger, John Amplis, Richard France, Michael Gornick. Cannot wait for that. I'll be at that convention if anybody's there. There are a lot of modern examples of actors getting into shape for roles. People don't realize how shredded Carl Weathers, especially in Rocky 2, is great. I love him in Rocky 2. I love the whole, man, I won, but I didn't beat him. And the whole where don't go for the knockout, Apollo. You've got it won. It's his ego that he had to knock him out. Otherwise, he lost. He could have won 15 out of 15 rounds by a point. in his mind, he lost unless he knocked him out. And that's the whole fall of Apollo Creed. He was better than Rocky as a fighter, as a boxer, as a talent, but it was his own demons that ultimately eat him up and ultimately caused him to die in Rocky 4. I love Carl Weathers, man. I think Carl Weathers was great. Just one of my favorite low-key actors. Carl Weathers, Action Jackson, love that movie too. Carl Weathers in Predator. I mean, what's the matter, Dylan? The government having you push too many pencils? I mean, love it. Director, that is a great scene. The director late went on to direct the Karate Kid trilogy. Absolutely, man. That's true. No rematch, Stallion. Don't want one. Cue the great music. I the Tiger became that workout segment for playlists decades after. Of course, man. I still listen to Hearts on Fire. That's the Hearts on Fire was inspiring. Hearts on Fire makes you want to go fight a war. Like it's supposed to inspiring for the song. My favorite scene is when he's running. There is something so satisfying about watching him run. Oh, of course, man. It's your graveyard and you'll die if you want to. Oh my God, yes, for the fucking Leslie Gore. It's my graveyard. That'd be fucking hysterical. Hey, Jonathan, or as Rambo said, nothing is over. Well, you may have just jumped the shark a little bit, Slasher Fred. Do a video of you bring into the Amityville house, call it the Amityville Intruder. Dude, well, the next week's episode could be an Amityville movie. If I call it Amityville whatever the fuck, it could technically be an Amityville movie because you can't sue. That's why there's 40 Amityville movies, is because you can't copyright a fucking town. So that's why there's 40 Amityville movies out there. But we're only going to talk about the first 9. LMFAO Trench, Apollo's biggest flaw is his own pride. Exactly. You get it. And a lot of people, they don't get that, but I think that's the whole brilliance of his character. It wasn't good enough for him to win on points. He had to knock him out. That's why Apollo Creed is such a fun villain, man. Like he's not a pussy heel. That's somebody that wanted to prove himself almost more than Rocky, which makes it so much interesting to me. But moving on into number 2, yes, the Bubble Boy of the top 10, the number 2 movie on our list here. This is from the year 1982. This is arguably, to me, his second most important role that he ever played. I really do believe, as a part of his second best performance, I think it's his second most important role ever. And this is Ted Kotcheff's film from the year 1982. This is First Blood. Yes, First Blood, where he plays John J. Rambo. I believe plot synopsis: a veteran Green Beret is forced by a cruel sheriff and his deputies to flee into the mountains and wage an escalating one-man war against his pursuers. Yes, First Blood. Now, this was a movie that, of course, was in development hell for a while. They wanted so many different people to play the role of John J. Rambo. A lot of people in Hollywood felt it was a role that you would take and you lose your whole career, a role to die, if you will. And a lot of people passed on it until it fell to Stallone, who, like I was saying before when we were talking about Nighthawks, he was in that transitional period after Rocky. He tried movies that didn't work. And then this movie comes along, and to me, made him a household name forever. It made him, this is the movie, this is the reason that Sly is not a one-hit wonder. Because up to this point, it was Rocky 2 was a big hit, Rocky 3 was a big hit, Rocky was a big hit, Paradise Alley flopped, Fist flopped, Nighthawks flopped. Well, Nighthawks was iffy, but didn't make the money that they wanted to. Victory flopped. Like, this was the first hit he had in his hands that wasn't a Rocky movie. So it's, you could say, okay, he's not a one-hit wonder anymore. At the worst, he's a two-hit wonder. But what a two-hit wonder to be. I mean, right? I mean, First Blood, one of my favorite movies ever. Of course, playing John J. Rambo, who is this ex-Green Beret who comes back from the Vietnam War and is treated vilely and treated terribly. And he goes to this town just looking for a bite to eat. And basically a whole war starts because the police captain does not want him in the town. And it wages this whole war where they chase Rambo into the woods and set out to kill him, set out to hunt him, send helicopters in. And the hunt is on, if you will. And it's kind of this movie where it's, one man versus the whole world type of war film where John J. Rambo has to fight them all for himself. And the thing about this movie, too, that people don't realize is he only kills one person in this whole movie out of self-defense. You hear that, you go, one man versus the whole world. You expect the body bags, and even the line, expect the body bags from Richard Crenna, may he rest in peace. And the promo where he's putting fucking John J. Rambo. This was a man that was trained to eat things that would make a Billy Goat puke. Rambo was the best. That whole promo, that hype man promo from Richard Crenna is great, where you're like, damn, this is not just the average fucking Joe. This is a killer, man. I love this. And I'll give you a war you won't believe. I mean, I love that. I mean, Mernsey beat me to it by saying, yeah, I'll give you a war you won't believe. I love the way he delivers that line. It's great. But this is, again, for all of these movies, this is the one with the least dialogue. There's not much dialogue here for Sly until you get to the ending. Like, you have this really fun action movie in the woods, and Sly's kind of working his way back to the neighborhood. He has that crazy gun that he's carrying around like it's 5 pounds. I'm sure it was much heavier than that. It looks like a 70-pound gun, not even kidding, running around the town and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have the to me, arguably the best scene of Stallone's career, where Richard Crenna confronts him. It's over, Rambo. It's over. Nothing is over. Nothing. It wasn't my war. You asked me, I didn't ask you. And, when I came back, all these people calling me all sorts of vile crap, a baby killer and all sorts of vile crap. Who are they? Who are they to judge me unless they've been me, unless they've been there? And he just absolutely fucking breaks down. And back there, I was kept in charge of $1 million of equipment. Back here, I can't keep a job parking cars. And he throws the fucking gun, and he falls down to his knees and just starts crying hysterically. And it's some of the most emotional stuff you'll ever see. And man, Richard Crenna, you can see he's holding back tears just watching him in the same room. That's the power of Sly's performance here. When he's crying and he's telling the story about his friend, and my friend, we were going to ride this car till the wheels fell off, and we were sitting in a bar, and the kid came up to us and he said, "Shine, shine." I said, "No, no." And he said, "Yes." And the box exploded, and Jimmy's guts and legs, and he was all over me and my friend. And he's crying, and he says, "Rambo, I want to go home, Johnny. I want to go home. I want to ride my car." He says, "Jimmy, I can't find your fucking legs. I can't find your fucking legs." He's crying. And I think it's just so great, that scene of when he breaks down and says, it wasn't fair how we were treated. We went in there and we did what we had to do, and we come back to the world and we're just thrown away like we're garbage. We're treated as if we were baby killers. We were treated as if we were the scum of the earth, and who are they to judge? And I know that the studio pushed back on that. They didn't want the scene in there. Sly fought them tooth and nail to get that scene in there, and it makes the film. I would love First Blood with or without that scene, but that scene makes First Blood. It makes the performance when he really opens up. This is a guy that was a trained killer, didn't have much of a personality. He was just going home to try to find a friend and get a bite to eat. And this whole war escalates because of his past rep. And thus, First Blood happens. And of course, that finale where, he breaks down to Crenna, where Crenna's trying to discipline him and realizes, I understand. I get it now. And I think that's in the moment where the audience watches, it's like, we feel bad for this guy. I feel terrible for this guy. You totally, empathize and sympathize for him because he was a good soldier. He was a good guy. And he was given an unfair shake when he came back to the world. And, I know there have been people that have said this is political. I don't see it that way at all. I see it as a right and wrong type of deal. I really don't. I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, Rambo's a Republican." I've heard that people say that. I never get into politics on Grande's Grave. I don't think it's political at all. I think it's actually just a right and wrong. And just, this is a fact. This is how some of them were treated. And just to show the soldiers' side of things that were maybe feeling this way. And from what I understand, a lot of ex-Green Berets or ex-soldiers of the Vietnam War said that this was very accurate of how they felt when they came back. And it was the breakdown and crying that they wanted to come out with and say. And Sly does it in this movie. First Blood, you can't beat it if you tried. It's just one of the best Stallone movies. Probably, I would say Rocky's number 1 Stallone movie, then First Blood's number 2. But as performances, they're 2 and 3. So what is number 1, you may be asking. But that is First Blood, Stallone and First Blood. One of my favorites, absolutely one of my favorites, and one of the Sly movies that I grew up with and idolizing and loving. And of course, I will say this, Rambo 2, I think is a more fun movie. I grabbed Rambo 3, but Rambo 2, I think is a more fun movie. I actually watched this more because it's just so fun and over the top and violent and shit, and the rocket bow and arrows and shit. I love Rambo First Blood Part 2, just as much. But, dramatic wise, movie wise, Rambo the First Blood is just great. And nothing is over. Nothing. It's great. The Holiday Amityville Intruder. Oh my God, no. Listen, don't go there. We have 30 versions of it. The first 4 movies were both the story of the rise of the underdog and the gradual fall of the champion. That's right. A lot of people miss the second part of that. That's not what I was thinking, John, but it works. So sure. I think what makes the original First Blood such a great movie is that all John wants is to be treated by a regular person, but instead he's treated like an outsider by bigoted cops. Yeah, exactly. He just wanted to go home. He just wanted a bite to eat at the diner. And you started this whole war out of ignorance, out of stupidity. And man, I think it's really a telltale. Don't push it, or I'll give you a war you won't believe. I love that. In the 80s, there was once a Rambo cartoon. I've never seen the Rambo cartoon, but I would like to. First Blood is a masterpiece to me. John Rambo is one of my favorite characters of all time. He's a man who was turned into a monster and then abandoned and hated by the very society he sacrificed everything for. Exactly. That is absolutely, I couldn't have put it better myself, but that's the truth. It really was. And that's how some of it was. Rambo was also last metal lunchbox created by Aladdin Co., I believe. 80s kids smacking the shit out of each other with a metal lunchboxes. Hell yeah, I love that you remember that. That's amazing. First Blood, it's an awesome movie. Kudos for the awareness of the movie on PTSD veterans experience was 1982 after all. Dude, that's the thing. I mean, that makes the movie. I read that the movie was originally going to end with Rambo getting shot and killed, which thank God they didn't do that. That would have been horrible. And you would have been deprived of Rambo 2. Rambo 4, I love. I love Rambo 4. A character that doesn't want to fight but can't escape the war because it's in his blood. Life keeps knocking him down and testing him, but he keeps fighting for good and keeps going so tragic and inspiring. Dude, absolutely. I empathize with the film now more than I ever did as a kid. Military and Streets will do that to a man. Sure, man, absolutely. Me and Nate covered all the Rambo movies on his channel, and I went on a very incoherent rant just gushing about Rambo at the end. Well, that sounds like something I need to hear. This came out when my VCR was getting popular, and my parents ended up renting the VCR and renting 1 and 2 movies. I can't remember the other film, but First Blood was one of them, and the folks bought a VCR. That's amazing. Rambo's great. I like all of them. Even when Rambo goes full Liam Neeson, does your Rambo set come 1 through 5? I have 1 through 3. This is Rambo 1 through 3. I know they recently released them all in 4K. Rambo 4 I don't own. I've got to buy the 4K of that. I love Rambo 4. That's like a fucking great movie. Like when you're on the ground, you're bleeding. Killing's just as easy as breathing. I love the fucking massacre at the end. Some of the fucking violence in that movie is fucking nuts, man. I love Rambo 4. First Blood is so many things. It's an action movie character piece, survival movie, slasher, so many things. Yeah, it's very grand. First Blood is number 1 for me. Okay, fair enough. Totally agree with that. Totally can see that. Rambo toys were the best. This movie's covers police brutality as well, which is more prominent now. Sure. Rambo 4 is straight up gore fest. Love it. Me too. Rambo 4 to me is great. Rambo 5, it's not even Rambo. Like to me, Rambo 5 should just be. I think Rambo 5 is a situation where he wanted to do a Taken movie and knew the only way it would go to theaters is if he called it Rambo. Because if you notice, he talks more in Rambo 5 than all the other Rambos together. It's weird. It's not a character that needed to talk much. That sweet set. Yeah, 4 is badass. Yeah, no, I got to get 4. I definitely got to get 4. But that brings us to number 1. That brings us to the number 1 movie of the evening. And I don't know. I haven't seen anybody guess it yet. Now, some people might say, oh, is that a cop-out? Is that this, that, or the other? I don't know. I personally don't think so. I think this movie is actually belonging and deserving to be the number 1 slot. And I'll explain why in just a minute here, because this is from the year 2006. This is the number 1 Sylvester Stallone performance on my list. This is Rocky Balboa. Yes, Rocky Balboa coming in at the number 1 slot. I know probably some people say, oh, you cheated. Rocky fucking used Rocky twice. I get that, but hear me out. This is my favorite Stallone performance of all time. And the reason for that is this. Like the original Rocky mirrored his life and career at the time, right? The up-and-coming underdog who was broke. He had like $100 to his name, sold the script only if he could be in the movie, but he had to take a pay cut to do so, is an inspiration to the world, inspires us all, and becomes an overnight, underdog turned big name, household name overnight. You look at Rocky Balboa, and to me, it's the other end of his career, right? Because like we were mentioning before, you get to the early 2000s, anything after Copland, really, you get to Burn Hollywood Burn, you get to Avenging Angelo, Driven, fucking Shade, fucking Spy Kids 3D. Stallone, it was not only going direct to video, his career was at the bottom of the barrel. Watch Driven. That is the bottom of the fucking barrel movie. Horrible. And Stallone took a hiatus from film after 2003, 3 years until he comes out with this, the big comeback movie. And in essence, it kind of mirrors the Rocky character. This is Rocky's big comeback, if you will. And I guess brief plot synopsis, because I did it for all the movies, right? 30 years after the ring of the first bell, Rocky Balboa comes out of retirement and dons his gloves for one final fight against the reigning heavyweight champion of the world, Mason the Line Dixon. Yes. I love this performance. And it's my favorite Sly performance for a lot of reasons. And I think, like I said, the mirroring of his real life at this time. He was at the bottom of the barrel. And, he really needed a hit. He really needed to remind people how great of an actor that he truly was. And I think Rocky Balboa is that movie where we were all reminded of how great Sly is. And now I remember, if I could be afforded to tell an anecdote here, the time that this came out, the amount of shit it got before it came out was astounding. I was like 9 years old when this came out. And I loved the Rocky movies. I was ecstatic for this to come out. So excited. But I remember the narrative in the news. I remember the narrative with people. He's so fucking old. Hang it up. You're 60 years old. You look terrible. You're out of shape. Fuck you, Sly. You're too old. Don't bring this back. It's pathetic. That's what people were saying at the time. Now, fast forward to now where they're making Indiana Jones 5 and fucking Harrison Ford is 85 years old. Fucking Indiana Jones in the last AARP meeting. That's fucking bullshit, in my opinion. There are things that are bullshit. I know he wants to do a cliffhanger too. Sly, you're 76 fucking years old. It's time to fucking. Now I think for sure, but at this time, he was getting so much shit. And you're old, you're nothing, you're weak, you aren't what you used to be, and that's really what the fucking movie is trying to say. That's what Rocky has become. Rocky's mirroring Sylvester Stallone's real life. He's just a has-been. He's just, yesterday's news. Mason the Line Dixon is the heavyweight champion of the world now. And who cares about Rocky anymore? Who gives a shit? Here he is back in Philadelphia, back in his roots. And he has the restaurant named Adrian's. Of course, Talia Shire's character has passed away in this film. He's still great friends with Burt Young, and he likes to go back and relive the glory days where he visits Mickey's gym. He visits the pet store. He's very sad about this. And he and Paulie have this great moment. Yesterday, why are you always looking at yesterday? It wasn't so good. And it was to me. And it's kind of this whole, I look at it in a meta way where, yeah, the 80s, the early 80s and Rambos and Rockies and the Cobras and the Coplands. It was to me, God damn it. Those were the days. That's when my prime was strong, and he likes to relive his past. But here he is in the modern day trying to prove himself once again. As once again, he gets the itch to fight. And he gets this exhibition with Mason the Lion Dixon, played by Antonio Tarver, which the villain, in the movie, he's the weakest part is Antonio Tarver. Never liked the villain in this movie. I thought it was just weak villain. But, the whole rekindling with Little Marie where, hey, oh, Little Marie, you said, screw you, creepo. And how he, meets her and have this great interactions with the two of them. She kind of takes the Adrian spot in this, even though nothing romantically happens. There's a great scene where she's telling him in the car, she says, listen, I know I don't speak a lot. I'm always looking and listening and all of these things. But she says, you have to stop worrying about what it looks like to everybody else. What matters is how it looks like to you. And that's what matters. That's what's most important. And what you're going to prove to these people is the last thing to age is truly your heart. And Sly believes this. And I love this. And of course, to me, my favorite scene in Stallone's career is in this movie when he's telling his kid who's begging him not to take the fight, played by Milo Ventimiglia, who's a great actor. He plays Sly's son in this. He's begging him, Dad, don't take the fight, please. In a way, you're hurting me. And Sly goes on this amazing fucking speech where, you used to be this small. You'd fit in my hand right here. I'd hold you up to your mother and say, this kid is going to be the best kid in the world. This kid is going to be somebody better than anybody I ever knew. And you grew up good and wonderful, and I was just great just watching you. Every day was like a privilege. Then the time came for you to be your own man and take on the world, and you did. But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for someone to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it'll beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, go out and get what you're worth. But you've got to be willing to take the hits and not pointing fingers and saying you ain't where you are because of him, her, or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always going to love you. You're the best thing in my life. But until you start believing in self, you ain't going to have a life. Don't forget to visit your mother. Like that's my favorite scene of Sly's career. That speech, because it's everything that he embodied as an actor and everything the Rocky character embodied as a character. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about keep moving forward, how much you can take. The whole symbolic nature of life is explained by Sly in that scene. I love it. I think it's it's the best scene of Sly's career, in my opinion. And he should have won an Oscar for this. I don't understand how he was not at least nominated for this movie. And instead he gets nominated for Creed, where he's like dying of cancer and he doesn't really have much of a speech to Michael B. Jordan like he does in this movie. And even the whole scene where he goes to the town hall and, don't I got some rights? And what rights do you think you're referring to? Oh, like that letter they have down the hall. That's the Bill of Rights. Well, doesn't it say something to me about me being, pursuing what I'm happy about? And that's the pursuit of happiness. Well, I'm pursuing something and nobody seems too happy about it. I know you're looking out for my best interest, but maybe you're looking out for yours just a little bit more. And, I love how he kind of tells them off and convinces them that, why did you make me take your test if you weren't going to clear me anyway? Makes them feel stupid. And the whole, scene where he's talking with little Marie in the street and, hey, would you like to come down, be the waitress and the hostess at my restaurant? And why are you being so nice? And just because that's Rocky. Like, he has the heart of a nice guy. And, little Marie, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I'll stand here in the street, little Marie, and I'll wait till a bus runs me down. There hasn't been a bus down here in 20 years. So good luck with that. That was a close one. Like, he brings a lot of the charm that he had in the original back in this movie here. And it's just as inspirational as, of course, he trains again, his son by his side, Paulie by his side. And some of the scenes he has with Paulie about, there's something in the basement. And, are you sad because Adrian left you? And she didn't leave, Paulie. She died. And he cries. And there's something in the basement. And Paulie's saying, do you feel you haven't peaked? Like, what are you talking about? You were the top of the world. And yeah, but there's still something left there. There's something in the basement. I have to let it out. I have to prove it again to myself that, I'm still great and I'm still a great guy. And he trains and fights Mason the Lion Dixon, a great fight at the end. And they kind of shoot it like it's an HBO pay-per-view, as if you were, ordered a pay-per-view on HBO. I love the way it's filmed. It's really great. And the emotion again that you derive on the story told. Again, not a great villain, but the story you feel for Rocky, you're like, damn, like, I'm so wanting Rocky to win this now. When he, knocks down Dixon and the crowd goes wild and stuff like that. And it's amazing. And even the little Sly inserts. And what do I mean by that? There's a great scene where this woman in the bar, hey, is that really you? This trashy lady, is that really you? Hey, can you buy us some drinks? Like, a couple of my friends over there. And he tells her, no, go away. And then, they all curse him out and call him an asshole, piece of shit, an idiot, all that stuff. You see Sly shoots her at the end of the fight. She's in the same bar watching on TV. Even she stands up out of respect for Rocky. Even she realizes the error of her ways and how much she does respect, how tough, how great, and how inspirational that Rocky Balboa really was. And it's just a wonderful scene. And to me, a wonderful swan song to the Rocky Balboa character. I almost wish those Creed movies had never been made, because to me, this is the ultimate swan song. In a way, I wish it was the swan song of his career. Even though I love Rambo 08, this, I think, would have been perfect. As, it wasn't about winning. It wasn't about beating Mason Lion Dixon. Once again, it was about going the distance. And he was able to do that against, the young guy who, had 33-0 and 30 knockouts and trying to prove his own legacy and stuff like that. And Rambo, Rocky starting to run together. Rocky goes the distance with him. And I love all the people that are in the past films hug him, and he's, up and the fans are cheering for him. And it's just a great triumphant moment where last night I watched the movie and I was like, thank you, Sly. Like, this is why I love Sly. It's moments like the end of Rocky Balboa. And then the famous, he's by Adrian's grave. Yo, Adrian, we did it. And he, rests on her grave and then walks off. And then the perfect swan song. The perfect swan song. In my opinion, the greatest legacy sequel that there ever was and that there ever will be. Rocky Balboa, in my opinion, it like I said, when it came out, a lot of people were, before it came out, judged it and called it a joke. And even in this movie, the son says, hey, look, now that you knocked him down, nobody's laughing anymore. Once people saw this movie, I don't think people were laughing anymore. I think people realized Sly Stallone still got it, and Sly Stallone is still the great actor that he's always been. And Rocky Balboa, to me, is the greatest performance of his career. All those speeches, all of the emotional, heartfelt moments of letting the stuff out of the basement and going the distance just one last time, and proving that the last thing of you does that ages is truly your heart and soul. And Rocky Balboa proves that in this film. Loved Rocky Balboa. Easily my number one favorite Stallone performance. Not number one Sly movie, but favorite Sly performance for sure. Murdsy thought it was going to be Cliffhanger. Cliffhanger, I like Cliffhanger, but I don't love it like a lot of people. I know a lot of people would tell you that's like a top 5 Stallone movie. I never felt that way. I like John Lithgow as the villain. I like the opening. The opening is wild. Like when I first saw Cliffhanger, I was like, almost pissed my pants at the opening. I was like thinking he's going to save her, and then she does. I'm like, what? Like, that's a crazy fucking way to open your film. But the movie itself, I don't know. And Rennie Harlan, again, it's good. I just never loved it. Like I've watched Nighthawks over it, but I don't think a lot of people would agree with that. I agree. I think Rocky Balboa is great. The opening scene of Cliffhanger is so tragic. Usually in action and adventure, you have the hero fight and defeat the bad guy and rescue the girl. Yeah, no, that's definitely going against the grave. Oh God, Spy Kids 3D. I can almost hear him yelling next level in my head. You just gave me Vietnam flashbacks. Well, I'm sure you and I saw that in the theater. No good. Boo, no Over the Top, no Get Carter. I'm outraged. I like Get Carter a lot, though. That's actually a good remake. I hope I'm messing with you, but I really would have loved to see Over the Top and Get Carter mentioned. Well, Over the Top I actually love. Over the Top is fucking so fun. That's a movie about the father-son relationship, but there's some of that here. And there's even some of that in Rocky 5, which I don't think Rocky 5 is half as good as Rocky Balboa. Over the Top is a classic. I agree. I still want the Spider Rico backstory, like how Rocky just gave my man washing dishes. Well, he fucking, at first he's just feeding him as a free guest, and then Spider Rico insists, I want to wash the dishes. So he's like, all right, whatever floats your boat. I love that Stallone infused all of the crap he got from everyone into Rocky Balboa. It did. That's why I think it's great. It's almost like people were laughing at you. People were laughing at him in real life. They were like, you're fucking too old. But now those people don't exist anymore. It's like, so fucking Harrison Ford could do Indiana Jones movies in his 80s and nobody's saying a word. It's like, dude, that to me is a lot worse than this. Stallone was still in shape. He was still, what was he? 9 years removed from Copland. So, I mean, yeah, definitely a little bit of a time, but I still think it was a great movie. Trust me, Tracy, I absolutely agree with you. Yo, S. I don't know. LMPFO, Lil Marie. Dude, Lil Marie. Spider Rico's son needs a trilogy. Oh, my God, imagine. Yo, Shamadrians? Yo, Shamadrian. I did it. Let him cook, LMAO. Let him cook. Keep moving forward. Wash hands. Man tears. For real. That's how winning is done. I mean, I love that. Some good points about the premise and message of the movies, but at the same time, studios can try and squeeze everything out of a franchise. And they did. I mean, look at, by the time you get to Rocky 5, it was done. I mean, it was out of milk. And then now you're doing the Creed. Like, Creed is a trilogy now. And like, I don't even think Stallone is in Creed 3 because he had a fight with Irwin Winkler all these fucking years later. But it's like, do you need 3 Creed movies? Really? Like, I didn't care for Creed 1 and I didn't see Creed 2 or 3, but fuck, like, I don't know. Just, you're right. They eventually, they had to ruin this. How could you, like, Swan Song? How could you ever play Rocky Balboa again after this movie? And then they nominated him for Creed, which I don't even think he was that good in Creed. Trench Art always be throwing that Lil Marie line around. You got to love it. Hey, Rock. You need sleep? Nah, this ain't a pie eating contest. Oh, it needs some help? This ain't no pie eating contest. That's a fucking Rocky 5. Me too, yeah. It's crazy how there is 6 main Rocky movies, and even though Part 5 is weak, it's still good and not a bad weak movie, but still watchable. I don't hate Rocky 5. It's just not. It's just pales in comparison to the other 5 movies. No bad Rocky movie. I would agree. I would say that Stallone is Werewolf and Cliffhanger. I don't know. Cliffhanger definitely one that I think people would definitely mention for sure. I definitely underrated, I guess. I underrated, I would say. Thankfully, did not see it in the theater, but have it on DVD. Had it on DVD. I meant it's long gone now. Okay. Would you be excited for a Marvel project as Ravager solo movie with Stallone as the lead? Could be interesting. That would be interesting. I mean, he's in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Isn't he in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and 3, I believe, Stallone? I don't know. At 76 years old, it might be time to hang it up. Like I do think that. Like, okay, Tulsa King seems to be doing okay. That's good. I know his wife just left him. Like he got divorced. His wife of all these years just divorced him because he won't retire. So he probably will never retire. He's trying to bring all this stuff back. He wanted to do Tango and Cash a few years ago. Now he wants to do Cliffhanger at 76 years old. You're gonna be climbing cliffs at 76 years old. My God, you have arthritis. Like I get, it's funny. It's like, well, you sound just like those people you were, saying were unfair with Rocky Balboa. It is. It might be time. It really might be time. Like it's just, I don't mind him doing something like that or something. So Ed mentions the Samaritan. I watched that. I thought that was pretty good. I watched the first like 45, 50 minutes of it. I didn't finish it, but from what I watched, I thought that was pretty cool. And that was more like what you're saying, Mateo, like a superhero movie where he plays the Samaritan. And I haven't watched the whole movie, but I'm guessing there's a twist because it feels like, at least, I don't know. I've seen enough movies where I feel like there's a twist in it, but I haven't seen it yet. Entertaining, at least. No, I liked what I watched of it. I've got to watch the rest of that for sure. Miss C is checking out. Bye, everyone. Cheers. We're about to wrap up anyways. No worries. LO, that wash hands emoji was actually me clapping because you nailed those classic lines for Balboa. Well done, Grande. Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? I was going to message you after and be like, wash your hands. Like, is that his expression? I don't know. It's like, I got dirty. Whatever. Fuck. He should stop doing action movies. Yes. I absolutely agree with that. Like, don't do Escape Plan 4. Don't do fucking Backtrace. Don't do they're doing the Expendables 4. The Expendables 4 is going to happen. That, I think, is already either in the can or filming, like one or the other, which is crazy to me that they're going to make a 4th Expend. Like, did anybody care about Expendables 2 or 3? Expendables 1, I saw in the theater, was super excited and was very much I was like, Dolph Lundgren, then the whole movie is basically just Jet Li, Jason Statham, and Stallone. It's like those three. That everybody else is like, oh, hi, I'm here for a cameo. Like, oh, there's Arnold and Bruce Willis, but they're in it for 2 seconds. Like, lame. I don't know. The Expendables should have been way better than it was. Like, it's one of those movies where it's like fan service more so than a real good movie. But yeah, that is the Sylvester Stallone top 10. I know these shows seem to go longer. This might be the longest actor spotlight I've ever done. Definitely up there with some of the longer ones I've done. But I enjoy doing this. I mean, this is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing the actor spotlights. Like I said, if there's any actor or actress, maybe we'll do actress next time. I haven't done actress spotlights. That would be something fun to tackle, like do an actress instead, because these shows are fun. They're just very hard to prep for. I have to really devote even my weekend to it. I was watching Sly movies Saturday morning till now. Like I literally watched Cobra the minute I got home from work today, just to fucking fit it in. So these shows are tough to, prep for, but I definitely would like to do more of these down the road. And if there's actors or actresses that you would have in mind, definitely would be willing to hear. We could always do a fucking, poll again like we did this time. He should stop doing action movies. Absolutely. Expendables series, meh, could care less. I'm in the same boat. The first one excited me, but after that, no. Expendables 1 is fun, but the plot does not exist. Exactly, yeah. Who would I do, Grande? I was going to do Michael Keaton or Stallone or Jimmy Stewart. That was the poll. So now Michael Keaton would have won if Stallone wasn't on there because it was very close between those two. Michael Keaton would be a fun one. Actress-wise, I'd love to do like a Betty Davis. I think that would be fucking amazing. I really would like to do a Betty Davis. I would be open to hearing like suggestions. I totally would be open to it. But definitely actors spotlights, we're going to space them out because these are hard shows to do. Like really, for real. Excellent episode, Grande. Cue the music, Angel in the City. Angel, dude, hell yeah. Gotta love Cobra. Thank you for watching, Mernsey. Stallone is one of my all-time favorite, my favorites of all time. I don't have a top 10 actors list, but if I did, Stallone would be on it. I definitely would be my top 5. I think most of the actors I've done, like that would be my top 5 actors. Would be Robin Williams, Kurt Russell, Jim Carrey, John Candy, and fucking Sly Stallone. That would probably be my top 5 actors, male wise. Actresses, different story, but we'll get there down the road. Next week, It's the Amityville Horror. Yes. I don't know if I'm going to do 1 through 5 or 1 through 9 or 1 through 4 yet. I don't know like where I'm going to start. I might do a 2-part episode, but next week we will be talking about at least the first 4 Amityville Horror movies. I'm super looking forward to that. Everyone, if I do not see you, if you're catching the replay, have a safe, happy, healthy weekend, and we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Cheers to Sly Stallone. Good night, everybody.